Broadcasting from the heart of downtown Hollywood. This is SoFloRadio.com.
It's time for my show and I'm busting a rhyme. Give me your call if you can find a word that rhymes with Rodriguez. Ain't gonna talk sports babble. No. Jockstrap sniffing. Gonna spend my time talking all about women. I'm of the opinion, if I may suggest, that women are bonded to living flesh.
Living flesh.
Yes.
Living flesh. Girls are naturally bonded to living flesh.
Yes.
Living flesh. Living flesh.
Girls are naturally bonded to living flesh.
Yes.
I'm gonna skate to the east and haka dance over to the west. And then I'll bury my nose deeply in between their breasts.
Jorge!
Okay, time to start the show. And away we go. What else rhymes with that? I don't know.
So you can might as well turn the mics on over here. I was going to cue up a song, but nothing's coming out of my little dealio over here. I was going to have a whole big honey claws day. You want to have a race to see who can find honey claws fastest? Because I don't think I don't even know anything about. I guess it's a hymn.
Sounds
I got that.
delicious.
Doesn't it? I think it's a bear reference, and he's got a teddy bear on his album cover. Who's faster, Jack, at finding honey claws? Because I don't know if I can play anything on mine. Pop me up on my computer. I don't know what's coming up on Skype 1. You try Skype 1.
10 years ago.
Oh, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, pop that up.
Higher. There we go. I do have audio. Awesome. Now you can turn the microphones off because I wanna hear this song.
I've been gone for like 28 years and shit, but I'm back with the front porch kicking it hit. Smoking blunts, rolling up in a haze. Strange days, many different angles I see. What shape is that fucking MC? He's a bent ass square, lose a motherfucker, bare face, green with envy. I'm an alien to him mentally, like he'll get to me eventually. Doubt it. I'm a king with the words, a pimp from the burbs. Shout it if you wanna be heard. Ill mechanism, knock your skepticism. Off teeter-totter to the proton pit. Positive shit, I didn't even try when I made this tip. Intricate as an anglerfish. I'm sleepy right now, but I don't give a fuck, cause I'm feeling a spectrum that's never been touched. Dope shit, no illusion, stupid. Houdini's getting laughed at, ruthless. Drown eagles in an airtight chamber. Lockdown, super glue, chokehold, strangle. How many people getting off of work and feel like listening to hair metal jerks? Got the happiness for your perky tits. Light up the room, set the ambience. Ain't it obvious? You're in the right place. I'm the kid with the perfect face. Crossing the boundaries of time and space. High as the jets inside the waist. Scoped in the clouds into peaceful things. Smoke rings.
Or it just ends like that. Hey, welcome to the show. It's Friday. Here with Jack and Randy.
Hey.
Blackjack and just not quite as Black Randy. And he's gonna have, I tried to orchestrate, when the whole Trayvon Martin thing was going on. I tried to get at least one show where I just filled the studio up with Black people so that we could talk about that. And I was not successful at filling the whole studio up, but apparently it's going to happen today if everybody shows up who says they're going to show up. That's why we have to have the very blonde Kimberly Johnson calling in around the 1 o'clock hour. Hopefully, I got to open up the Facebook. Everything's all behind. We don't have anything down to a routine here yet in the new studio. Our musical guest today, for time-killing purposes, is going to be Honey Claus. I originally thought of that because I thought it was a black guy, and apparently it's white dudes from Texas, of all places.
You never know.
Austin, Texas. You never do.
Never know.
I heard my first Honey Claus song on Breaking Bad, which I'm trying to turn Randy on to Breaking Bad. It is
Still
so
haven't
yummy
made it
good.
over there.
Just let me know how, just tell me how you want it. And
Very
the show,
good show.
too.
Well, I
See,
do.
that's-
I do want to hear some more Honey Claus.
We're going to be. That's my
It's
second
delicious.
favorite Honey Claus song. As a matter of fact, my daughter, who loves you dearly, because you were nice to her and gave her gifts. She's a chick. Oh, she gave me something. She has a favorite Honey Claus song already. Lately, because she mans my phone when we're driving around, and she plays DJ, as she calls it. And lately, she's been playing blocks, like
Okay.
entire blocks. Normally, she'll jump around from one song to another, but lately, she's been playing blocks. Is it? Are we feeding back? I just want to hear what it sounds like with the audio over here. You can turn those monitors down just a little bit. I'm just scared of that. And see who that is calling. Let's see how you answer the phone calls. You have to hit the answer and actually turn the pod up for the phone call. That would help too. Skype 1. Yeah. Hello.
SoFlo Radio.
That's how we do it. And then they hang out.
Oh.
What a crank! We call that a line checker. This is one for the notebook. Back in the regular AM radio days, we would call those people line checkers.
Well, at least we know it works.
Just want to see if the phone actually.
Yeah, I guess
calls
this is
the
such a cute
station.
thing. Randy gave us little. Jack got a Green Lantern. Which apparently he's not a Green Lantern fan. So, but I am a fan of the Flash. I don't have Flash underwear. I do have Superman underwear and Transformers underwear.
TMI.
And that's what this show is all about. It might as well be called TMI. But when I was young, I used to collect Flash comics, and I used to draw the lightning bolt on everything, including like my baseball mitt. I can draw the lightning bolt. Like, I'm really good at it. Like that.
That
Yeah.
is a very good lightning
Well, I mean,
bolt.
to drew really quickly, but I was really good at it with the circle, and I like the Flash imaging. Red's my favorite color, and this is
Yay.
these have a name, of course. It's written right on here. It's a Justice League Schlanimals. What is it? Scalanimals?
This
Oh, it's a
comes-
skull with a skull.
It's a skull animal. Skull animal.
Amy, who you met on Mojito Monday, is going to steal this.
Oh,
She could like Scullies.
well, I think there's like one more. I told you the boyfriend is having the garage sale
Oh,
this
yeah?
weekend, and he used to be a toy distributor.
I did not.
So
know
when
that.
I saw these,
Wow.
I took them all.
There's a garage sale
And I
that
thought of you.
You might want to visit. I'm just going to wear this all day, maybe hang it from my rear view mirror where my air freshener is right now.
It's
I
quite
think so.
adorable. I
Hey-
love plushies.
Hey, if Lewis
Actually, I
finds
make
out
my
about
own
that, it's a
sometimes.
good chance he might be there.
You need to see Lewis's bedroom / studio. Looks like the warehouse of Tate's Comics. He's got so many things, so many expensive, wonderful collectibles, all really nicely displayed. It's a thing to see. He should charge admission for his
To enter
for his
his lair?
bedroom and his lair, and because he's an artiste, so he's got his desk is backlit, like with uniform light. It's just a whole
Okay.
big plain plate of, it's white, then he turns the light on, and then it's all backlit, so when you put your paper on it, you can see every little mark, every little shade that you put on the paper. It's all very nice. So all right, we dispense with the niceties. Honey Claus is going to be here today. Vashawn Robinson, the DJ, one of the DJs from the roller rink, is going to be showing up. He's been let me explain that. Not the one that I hate,
Okay.
although I did have problems with Vashawn in the beginning, and the new DJ, the one that I hate, DJ Asshole, whose name is D, is so bad that I now I love Vashawn by comparison. I mean, he's so bad. So I'm gonna wait till he gets here to bust his chops. But ever since he found out that I was on the radio, and he was confused. Like, he knew, because people talk, and that's George. He's on the radio. I've been going there for so long that at the time when people started figuring out who I was on the radio, and I was a big name. And even the management there, oh, it's George from the Neil Rogers Show. Wow, he likes to skate. Yeah, he does. He talks about it on the air all the time. And they gave me some skate passes years ago, and they've grown to hate me because I'm such a bitch. Now, at the roller rink, I feel very entitled because I spend money, and that's
You're a roller diva.
Okay. I feel, and I'm sure that I'm not the only one, that when I'm spending money somewhere, I want something. I want what I expect. And we were having this discussion before about the people that come into Morton's, they pay for the right to bitch. And okay, that's one way of putting it. I don't think of it that way. I just want whatever it is that is being represented to me. Like when I go to the Burger King, I want what I see in the commercials. I'm not expecting
That so rarely
premium-
happens, though.
I know. But I want, when I go to the roller rink, and I go to Galaxy and Davy because I like their floor. Here's what I want at a roller rink. I want a nice floor, air conditioning, and music that doesn't suck.
Okay.
And
Those are
that's it.
Those
That's
are
too much.
fair request.
Those
for
are
a
very
roller
fair
rink.
requests for what they charge, which is $8 typically. On Thursday night, it's $10
Okay.
for the session. That's movie.
Is that because it's the
theater
adult
prices.
skate?
Yeah, and it's a very popular night. Why is it a very popular night, you might ask?
Why?
I'm glad you asked. Because they play good music. They play 90s freestyle and
that's the
aughts
DJ that's
bass.
coming in?
Absolutely not.
Oh, no. What?
No, Vashon is a Taekwondo instructor that moonlights as a DJ over there. Although I'm going to be the only one. Well, thank goodness that, what's his name? Larrnell? Larrnell. And I'm going to have to write this down.
Okay.
Because Larrnell is going to be here at some point, and I'll be teasing him because I can't help it.
Lots of
I just can't
Love
help it.
No.
I was spontaneous. Kimberly's going to be on the phone. She's supposed to be calling at 1:00. Kimberly Johnson, Facebook friend, author S. I told her to send me your honorific so I don't leave anything out. And she's kind of an activist, and she's tall and she's beautiful and she's a pip. She's got a good sense of humor, and we'll get into women's issues when she calls up. But Vashon, the whole thing with Vashon, let me explain that, is he found out at some point that I was on the radio, and I don't remember if it was while I was on the regular radio or if I had started this thing yet, but he starts probably after I had started this thing, and he was just going on old information. But it's like, hey man, when are you going to have me on your show? All of a sudden I walk in one day, hey man, when are you going to have me on your show? I'm like, as soon as I come up with an excuse, because there needs to be an excuse, although I'm loosening up the format considerably. At some point, we will tighten it back up. But for the time being, I just want to get used to the new studios. I want the interns to get used to the new studios and the procedure and everything. And then we'll get into more of a rhythm of having, celebrity guests and things like that. But right now, it's my radio show. And if I want to have people on who are friends or just people I know or somebody I met in the lobby on the way up here, the homeless guy that sleeps on the stairs, whatever, I'm going to do what I want because it's my
totally do that.
show. And
a lot of interesting.
So Vashon's like, he's been, when are you going to have me on the show? So we got into the new studios, I got business cards printed and everything. I gave him one of the first ones. I said, here you go. You want to be on the show? Here's where to show up. And coincidentally, the whole Trayvon thing was going on. So I'm like, perfect time, because he's like Jack over here. He's really inky black and he's got dreadlocks.
Okay.
So
inky black.
And I had started this conversation with him before Jack. So I thought, I was going to have Vashon in as the example of the kind of guy that most white people lock their car doors when they see him walk by, that kind of thing.
Oh.
You've heard that. There's a thing. I keep hearing all these interviews. I grew up, before I went to the hills, before I went to North Carolina,
redneck area,
and Montana, I spent my formative years from the age of 5 through all the way through elementary school in the Redlands and Homestead in that area. Lots and lots of black people and Mexicans, and everybody was there. By the way, explain to me projects in rural areas.
Like ghouls?
Yeah, exactly. We're in the Redlands thing. I went to Redland Elementary, and there were the Mexican labor camp kids, and I can understand that because the migrant workers have children, and that's where the migrant workers live, is where the crops are, and that's what's going on in the Redlands is avocados and oranges and tangerines and malanga. So of course I expect the Mexican labor camp kids there, who all had better clothes than me. I just want to point that out. But also all these low-income children of color, were there and who lived in housing. And I remember we'd ride our bikes around, and I was friends with some of them. My favoritist friend from one of those places, his name was Al Tukes. Al was the funniest kid I ever knew.
Okay.
Funny Al. I always sat next to Al at lunch because Al, almost everything that came out of his mouth was funny. He should be, I mean, he was already doing stand-up comic and he had no idea.
Okay.
But he was, you know, as ghetto rural as it gets, but sharp, man. He had comebacks. He had great wit, like my friend Hair Lip Larry, but without the hair lip and with the black skin there. So I don't understand the purpose of putting like projects in the middle of the swamp. I mean, how does that even happen? Like, what happened first? Were there the people there, and then they built some houses for them, some apartment buildings for them, or did they build these apartments for them to try to get some of these people out of the city and into the rural areas?
I'm thinking the second.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to. I'll do some research.
You want some assisted living? You want some Section 8 housing? You got to move out to the swamp with the mosquitoes and the humidity.
They're like,
and
we'll just get the brown people as far
Yeah, placement
wow,
as possible.
of some kind.
So I forget what led me into that. Oh, because I would hear stories. I would hear stories growing up and hang out and the parents and everything. And one of the things that you hear all the time is, oh, you know, when I'm walking down the sidewalk, I can hear people locking their car door. And I know that doesn't happen to you. And they would point to me. Mm-hmm. I go, no, they lock up their daughters. They don't lock up their car doors.
I'd get both.
Okay, all right. All these stereotypical things, and I've been watching. I've been doing the homework. I almost got all the way through Head of State, and I would have, but I crashed last night. I fell asleep. It was a very big day, and I tried to watch a little bit more this morning. The VCR in my living room thing doesn't work as an understatement.
What's that?
It doesn't even open.
I know. What's a VCR?
What is that?
I know. I was trying. Yeah. Well, you gave me DVDs,
right?
And I got a VCR DVD combo thing, and it just
those still exist, huh?
So no,
It's
I have one. It's shaped like one, but it doesn't work. So basically, it's just a box with a silver front on it. Okay. Maybe the VCR side works. That would be really good. I could watch an old copy of Flash Gordon. But
Yay.
back to I had this open-ended invitation to Vashon going back like 2 months. I wanted him in here so that I could interview him and talk about his perspective and his take on the whole situation, and he kept putting me off. And finally I got a text like yesterday in the middle of By the Glass saying, "Hey, I can be on your show tomorrow." Like, okay, I wasn't going to rescind the invitation. I'm like, oh man, we just spent 3 weeks talking about black shit, so no.
Yeah, and we found like 2 other black people. So
yeah, we got three
Yeah,
actually.
Larrnell.
We already met our quota for EEOP and the guest thing.
Right,
I filled out the worksheet and everything. I already filed it away, got my certificate. No, there can't be too many black people in the studio as far as I'm concerned, unless, of course, it gets so packed in here that I can't, get to the bathroom. Yeah, speaking of the studio, because I'm going to tangent off, I just want to get this out of the way before Dio shows up. I'm about to go ape shit on... let me back up a little bit.
Wait, let me take a sip of water.
I'm backing up because...
You should take a sip of water also. Because it looks like you're about to
Excuse
go
me, I'm
off.
a little... I've already announced to the good people here in the studio and everybody else that moving forward with SoFlo Radio, and even from the very beginning, I wanted to do things a little bit differently than they had been done in radio, because there were a lot of things that really aggravated me about the way that radio did things. So... And as a radio veteran, starting when I was 17 in 1982, I know a thing or two. I showed Randi and Jack my notebook, my credentials. I've got a solid body of success behind me, and spent many years in radio stations, with the exception of 3 years from the age of 17 until I was fired in 2009. All of my life was spent in radio stations, doing radio things, on the air, off the air, production, in front of the scenes, behind the scenes, everything. And the only thing that I wasn't successful at was sales, because I'm just not a good salesperson. We can't all do everything, can we?
No.
So I'm very lucky, knock on wood, that I have the talents that I have. But a lot of things never made sense to me in radio, and a lot of things really aggravated me. And one of the things that I found very aggravating, and people gave me shit for it, they called me a clean freak, and I would say, no, I'm not a clean freak. I'm just clean. I would say, no, I'm not a clean freak. you're a slob. See, it's all relative. Remember, George Carlin said, when you're driving the car, anybody driving faster than you is a maniac, and anybody driving slower than you is an idiot.
Right.
Okay, so I guess that phenomenon applies to. I'm going to play with my plushie all day long, by the way.
Yay.
Manual fixation. I guess the same thing applies to the whole cleanliness situation. Anybody cleaner than you is a clean freak, and anybody sloppier than you is a slob. For example, homeless people call my wife a slob. My soon-to-be ex-wife, because she's a slob. She's a disgusting pig who lives in filth and has a tolerance of filth that I don't think urine-soaked bums. See, so it's all a relative term.
How do you really feel about it, though?
She's a slob.
Oh, okay.
So here we are. These studios to clean up. By the way, we had some adventures we'll go into. We'll get Christy in here to relate that story. I actually lent the studios out to somebody, so I actually took apart the studio and put it back together again. And when I take it back together, while everything is off of the shelves, I dust and I polish and I cover everything clean. And I told everybody I'm going to be fighting a war on clutter in here, because what one needs to do a job, whatever that job is a place for your stuff. The notebook, the computer, and everything. And if you're knocking over waters and things are in your way, it's very inefficient. But one of the things that really bothered me about my careers in radio, especially when I got into talk radio, is going into the studio the next day. And to say that things are a mess would be kind. I would put my hands down and it would be on something sticky. And I'm thinking to myself, I hope that's coffee.
Ew.
I hope that was dried soda there. You touch the controls and there's something on it and you're like, oh my God, what is that? And here's the thing. I don't know what you do. You touch something, what is that? So
Run and wash
do I
your
smell
hands.
it?
Fecal
Do I smell
matter.
it? Do I smell it? I guess I want to know. I want to know. Do I smell it? Do I smell it?
Fecal matter.
Do I want to smell it? So it's just disgusting. So people would walk in, they would see my stuff would be like on the corner on the floor or something, and I would buy my own spray cleaner and paper towels and lock it up because the janitor
Toilets.
thinks that it's his and takes it away. Towelette, yeah. You might as well play moist towelette at some point, because Neil made fun of me for cleaning up his studio before I would use his studio, because he would leave and I would have to do things in his studio. Well, Neil would take olive oil and pour it on his hands, and then he would rub it all over his feet, and then without wiping his hands, he would touch the controls.
Oh.
Neil would eat food with his hands.
With olive oil on it.
Well, whatever. He would eat chicken wings. It didn't matter. With his hands, and then work the controls, and his rationale was, that's my studio. I can mess it up if I want. Well, you're not the only one that uses it, asshole. Well, fuck you. That was his attitude. So I would go in there and I would wipe everything down before I touched it, because I don't want to touch olive oil foot juice everywhere. We had those, those carpet runners, those plastic things that they put down behind desks so that the chairs will roll on it, those plastic things.
Yeah.
Can I tell you how dangerous his was? Because I had one of my.
I
was covered in olive oil, so you would step on that thing and woo! Down for the count you would go.
Mm-hmm.
You're sliding around. You got no traction over there, and people go, hey, he does that. But then in the producer room, in my room, I'd go in there, and there's sticky things everywhere, grease everywhere. Sometimes you would go in and there would be a plate or one of those, takeout styrofoam things of chicken wing bones, just open right there. Just right there. So you know that the grease and everything on everything is chicken wings. Somebody was eating chicken wings, and then they just left the container right there.
Did they leave them
Pornography
there
on the
to
computer.
share?
That would have been nothing. Listen, we had the Playboy channel at IOD.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, the overnight. So let me tell you something.
So you
I
figured
took
out what
no
that
chances.
sticky stuff was.
I took no chances. Whether I didn't wait to discover anything on anything, before I touched anything or before I let any of my possessions touch anything, I wiped that studio down.
I've heard about some of those horror stories. People watching pornos and stuff like that late night. So you kind of figure out what that sticky stuff was.
This is new to me.
Oh, no.
Listen, I confess, I did it, but whatever. But trust me,
Never-
ain't nobody ever got anything on them of mine, unless, of course, that was part of the plan.
We're going to keep it this way. No more handshaking, okay?
All right. We just do the elbows.
Yeah, elbow.
So you don't know where my elbows have been. You know what kind of freaks I hang out with. So I've been talking, before the studio was over here, I had to yell at Dio on more than one occasion. I'm going to yell at you on the air, Dio. I love Dio. What's one of our Saturday options is going to go see Dio spin at Mecca, and I got passes and everything. And so that, yes, you can bring your boyfriend to that. But here's the thing. I've also invited to a party at DJ Raven's. Oh, I hope I'm not spilling any beans. Maybe not everybody was invited to that. Anyway, too late.
All right.
So Like one time I had my dumbbells out because I was living there. There's a little overlapping. It was my workspace and living space for a while until I got these studios, and it was only my workspace for a while. But then I got a separation, and I was living over there anyway. So I had my dumbbells out, little weights and everything. They come in a little rack because they're adjustable. Had them on the floor right next to the wastebasket, and I go to grab them. I'm cleaning up the studio, and I go to grab them, and there's something on them. I'm like, what the hell now? What like? And it wasn't a little bit of something. Like I grabbed them and like.
Oh, goodness.
Like, what on earth is on these? And I pick my hand up, and I'm like, it was brown and slimy, and did I crush a worm? What is that? And I'm like, it smells like onion. What is this? I go, this is roast beef and onions.
Roast beef and onions on your dumbbells.
Right. Because normally there isn't.
Right. Were your dumbbells hungry?
And I look at the wastebasket next to it, and there's Dio's plate from the day before. Oh. He just threw it like a frisbee towards the garbage, spinning roast beef and onions in all directions. And I look around. Now I'm looking around. It's like there's roast beef and onions on the floor. There's roast beef and onions splattered on the wall. And it's like, dude, Dio doesn't care. You notice how he sits? He just like reclines. He's a tall guy, but he cannot stand up straight, so he reclines. He puts the chair down at ground level, and then he reclines, and then he reaches for the equipment from across the room. Now, I guess I wasn't clear enough yesterday, and I might have made a mistake because I was going nuts about the fact that Dio left some food in here the last time that he was in here. I said, I don't know what you did in here besides leave your food, because I came into the studio the following day, and the studio reeked of garlic and onions. He goes, oh, yeah, that was my Publix food. I left it there. Did you save the Tupperware? I'm like, what Tupperware? I grabbed it and threw it out of the studio as quickly as possible. It only took half the day for the studio to stop smelling that way, or I just got used to the smell, because you know how that is. You just get used to the smell, and I have no idea.
Is that why you brought the car air freshener in here?
No, I'm sure that Christy brought the car air freshener in here because it smelled like onions and garlic and fecal matter. Who the hell knows? But the place... I got my refrigerator that I brought from home, and my slob pig of a wife never cleaned it. I cleaned it before I moved it over here. And it smelled like rotted fish inside of there, even after cleaning it out. Now, I noticed that it was okay until yesterday, Dio, and possibly Jack.
No.
I don't know.
No.
So I had this conversation, deals with stinking like the stuff, and I don't know. I think I remember something. I smoked a lot of dope between now and yesterday. I think I remember something about all the leftovers here. I think I kept saying I need this stuff out. I need this stuff out of the studio. The food cannot spend the night in the studio. It needs to be put in the garbage and bagged up and taken out. The food out of the studio. Studio, this place. Food, not in this place. Eat it and then dump it. Don't save it. Don't bag it. Food, I don't know. Did I say it like 5 times before I left the studio yesterday? What? Remind me, because again, Smokey.
This rant was brought to you by George Rodriguez.
Because you were here, you were in the room, and I was looking at Dio, and like, the food, if you're going to eat it, eat it. Otherwise, I'm going to take it out of here with me now. I don't want to come into the studio and have the studio smelling like yesterday's leftovers, because garlic and onions smell so wonderful while the food is cooking and while it's on your plate and while you're eating it, and then it stops smelling good.
Not so much in
let's say that you leave the dinner table, go outside, have a smoke, come back in. Now it doesn't smell good anymore.
No.
Does it? Now it smells like bad. Right? If you leave it overnight, you walk into the kitchen the next day, you're like, oh my, open a window, what the hell? Is that just me being a butt plug? Is that me being anal, or is this not the case?
This continued rant has been brought to you by George Rodriguez.
I'm going to continue to rant. So I'm like, I thought I was really, really clear. And I know Theo said something about the refrigerator. I'm like, that's, I don't know. I don't remember what I said. Here's what I wish I had said. Yeah, if something's sealed in Tupperware and you really, really want it and you want to take it with you, put it in the fridge, but then take it with you. Take it with you. So I come in here this morning.
Uh-oh.
I open the door and my nose melts.
Oh,
Like,
no.
oh my God, what now? Oh, Jesus H.
Christ.
Son of Mary, Christ. What the hell? What is this reek? And I'm looking around and I don't find anything. It's like, wow, this food. And there's wonderful, wonderful stuff by the glass that we had yesterday. We had food pairings with pizza beer. Ever hear of pizza beer?
No.
It's freaking phenomenal.
I can't believe I missed that.
We got a bottle in the
phenomenal.
refrigerator. Feel free to take it.
No, we had. I mean, is it still there? Because I thought I took it out.
It's still there. There's one there.
And what was the beautiful lady's name?
Yeah. That's a great question.
You guys did the show from here yesterday?
Blankney.
No, was it Blankney?
Well,
B-L-A-K.
I remember her last name is Blankney. Let me see if she's on my recent friend requests over here. Holly. I didn't even have to come up. I just remember Holly because that's what I wanted to name my younger daughter, but we had a policy, so I lost out. This is Holly Rodriguez, who sounded real cool. Anyway, Holly brought in a whole bunch of really good food, Mexican food, and the beef and everything like that. And the beef, I'm like, all right, it was great. It was yummy, and we ate it. And
on that day,
right, that day. And so, I mean, I swear, Jack, I remember. Tell me that you remember at least a part of the conversation where I was really, really going on and on about not leaving any food in this very enclosed space.
Yeah, you were quite
the
adamant
studios
about that.
It's an enclosed fucking space over here. I can't open these windows like I can in the apartment. I could open the window and light some incense and everything and maybe burn some cat shit and a censer or something to purge the smell. I can't open the windows over here. We can open the door to the hot hallway.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
The sauna outside.
So I'm looking around and I'm like, well, first of all, there's a mess. The table hasn't been wiped down. There's the same thing that I didn't want anymore, like half drunk bottles of water everywhere and just, whatever. So, all right, I got some cleaning to do. So I did some cleaning and straightening up. And the remnants of the previous show are still here, which is, again, a peeve. It's like in regular radio, the newbie producers and even the people that have been there a long time, they think that it's the janitor's job to clean up the show notes, the things that the previous show used for the course of their show.
We don't have
one. We don't have one. And the janitor doesn't touch things that they think are someone's belongings, like show notes and things like that. So people just walk up and leave. They just leave all their stuff there. So Magical Fairy, the shoemaker's elves, has to clean it up, has to pick all the stuff up to make room for their show. How about after you've done a show, whether you are the staff, the host, or the producer or something, take your shit and get it out of here. As if it were never here, like with camping. Pack it in, pack it out. When you go camping, they say, pack it in, pack it out. Mm-hmm. Leave the campsite the way that you found it, like no one has ever been there before. That's how I would like the studio to be.
Leave no trace.
Like when I walk in or when someone else walks in, and now that it's a real bona fide place of business, we're going to be walking in here with potential sponsors and radio guests. I want people to walk in here to look like this is the first time that a show has gone on. This is going to be the very first show in here. There's no evidence that anyone has been here at all. We're the first ones in the room. That's what it should look like. That clean, brand new, spiffy clean. Very easily achieved, especially if you stay on top of it and don't let the shit pile up like they would in my house. So,
okay.
I really, really, really wanted to achieve that. I really want to achieve that because it makes it so easy to keep the place clean when there isn't cutter. And still, we're not there yet. We've got to get some storage space over there in the other room to find a place for everything and everything in its place, and then everything else goes out of here and in storage. And the only things in these studios are going to be the things that we actually use for the show. And I'm a big believer in comfort. Mm-hmm. I just spilled water all over myself.
Uh-oh.
It's on my crotch. Could you get that towel and wipe my crotch?
No. I can get you a paper towel, though.
I think the boyfriend wouldn't appreciate that.
That's okay. I'm good. So anyway, I can't find the smell of the food, so I'm like, whatever, man. I guess that's just got some staying power. That she sure did use a lot of garlic.
Oh, yeah.
That Holly. And, boy.
Yeah.
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 Wow. Anyway, so I'm like, all right, I'm
What
just gonna
did I
go
miss
get myself a drink of water.
He likes redheads.
Oh.
And not exclusively, but
Holly's a redhead.
particularly,
Nice.
bring up her Facebook page over here.
You can catch Holly on the By the Glass Show archives.
That's right. Replay. Just go to SoFloRadio.com and click on the By the Glass logo. And it's all right there.
Shameless
so I go to the refrigerator to get myself a bottle of water, and there it is. There it was, wide open. I mean, there's a cover on top of the vat of beef, and by on top I mean like the way that this paper towel is on top of my head. I mean, just there. I mean, there's a cover, the tinfoil cover where you can just, where you can crimp and seal and everything like that.
Yeah.
The potential was there. It still wouldn't have been a tight Tupperware seal. The smell still would have escaped everywhere. But if you'd crimped it over there, it would have maybe taken the edge off of it. No, I know exactly who put that food in the refrigerator because it has Dio's signature all over it. It looks like somebody threw it in there from across the room. It's just in there. And the other stuff,
well, actually, that's not Dio's fault.
All right. Well, I opened up the refrigerator door, and
we have a confession.
Sort of, because Chris was supposed to finish that off.
Freak out.
And that is why we're
as far as I know, because I've been in here since like 10 this morning. As far as I know, the whole studio still smells of onions and garlic. I don't know.
No,
and ground beef.
I didn't
ground
notice
beef.
anything when I came in.
I'm gonna light an incense. Thank goodness for Chris that he
Okay.
brought some incense in here. I'm gonna bring a
Sage.
giant barrel of Nag Champa,
Yummy.
and yeah, we have the sage, and I want to burn incense and clean it. So there's my big
And say a
long-winded tirade
prayer
about. I'm
for
saying this
cleanliness
in front of the audience, and
forward.
so Chris wanted that. Let's get some Tupperware. Let's get some Tupperware to seal things like the leftovers. But I'm going to
Sharing
and I
is
don't want
not caring.
now all of a sudden, because see, I used to resist, and especially the people that remember the Neil Rogers show and everything. We used to fight with management all the time about being able to eat in the studio.
Okay.
We were allowed to because Neil did whatever the hell he wanted. And so you couldn't say that Neil can't eat in the studio, but George can't eat in the studio also. So during those hours, you can eat there. And then back and forth, there was a whole big thing. People made a stink. It's like, well, George and Neil can eat in the studio, so therefore we can eat in the studio. And so we ate in the studio, but see, I was always very careful. I developed the whole clean hand, dirty hand. Like if I was going to eat chicken wings, I had the wing hand and then the one that I touched the controls with because I didn't want to get the controls greasy for the other people because I'm conscientious. Or for me, I mean, it's nasty. That smell. It's chicken wing grease will stink. So the engineers would have this no food in the studio policies, and I understand why. Mm-hmm. And management would have no food in the control rooms in the studios, and now I understand why. And I thought, now that I'm management, sort of, and I'm going to do things differently, it's going to be a fun place to work. It's going to be a nice place to work. There isn't going to be this oppressive management atmosphere, this cloud hanging over everybody's head. But now I'm starting to feel like I need to put up a memo or something, a big sign on the wall.
You need to do a Nancy Reagan-esque campaign, just say no, or something along the lines of that. War on clutter, as you call it.
Well, what I'm going to, I mean, at the risk of alienating people and coming off like an asshole, I'm going to start doing some things, and I'm going to remove anything that offends me from the studio as I encounter it. Like I used to go through, like I had this whole thing at the house because of the house of filth and clutter. I like to be able to use things for what they were intended for. Like I like to be able to write with a pen, cut with a knife, drive a car, walk on a floor, close a door. That makes you're anal. You're anal. You're an anal asshole. You're anal retentive. I want to be able to walk across the floor without tripping on something or stepping on something. Floors are made to be walked on.
Yes.
And so if I have to kick debris out of my way as I walk across the living room, it's annoying to me.
Okay.
No, I'm not talking about the children's toys or anything like that. I'm talking about plates.
Oh.
I want to be able to close a door, but somebody has hung something like a wet towel on the end of the door. Why? Because they're too lazy and fat to go and put it back in the bathroom on the hook where it goes. They took a shower. They just throw the towel on the floor there, or they hang it on the end of the door. Now I can't close the door. I want to change my clothes. We have children in the house. I can't close the door. Oh, I can't close the door because I have a wet towel. What am I going to do with a wet towel? Oh, throw it on the floor, maybe. And some lazy cow was too lazy to take it back into the bathroom because that would have required, a 15-foot walk, a 30-foot round trip.
Are we speaking of Mrs. Rodriguez again?
What you bringing that up over here?
No.
By the way, that was never her name.
Oh.
So, yeah, we're always fooling people all the time. I'm just speaking hypothetically. How's that, Jack?
Okay,
yeah,
that could work.
So floors and doors. I would say this thing. I got the issue about doors and floors. Doors are meant to be opened and closed, and floors are meant to be walked on. Mm-hmm. Get your shit off the floor. Get your shit off the door. Don't you hang? There's only one thing that I want to see hung from the door. You. From a noose. Keep the shit off the motherfucking doors. And the floors. Pick it up. We got all this furniture that I bought. Pick it up and put it on top of something. Put it on top of your head. Throw it on top of the bookcase if you want to have a house of filth and clutter. Throw the filth and clutter on top of the other filth and clutter, and then it's on top of something else so I can walk through the motherfucking house without tripping over shit and stepping on shit.
Speaking of nooses.
Yeah. And now we're back to the studio.
Yeah. What were your thoughts
about
on Head of State? The little bit that you saw.
No, don't get ahead of me over here. I haven't even finished it. So I had a whole notebook written about head of state.
Oh, Lord.
But meanwhile, back to the floors.
Wait.
So this is going to be my new policy: is I am going to viciously attack. I'm talking about like rabid badger, man, like piranha, like a hungry piranha. I'm going to viciously attack any object that offends me, be it food, an object, or a person. Stay out of my way. Keep your shit out of my way. Don't be in my way.
It's a declaration of war.
Don't be in between. Don't. You like your stuff. Don't put it in my space. What's my space? The third floor. I'm just kidding. Just keep things out of my way, man. Dio comes and plants shit everywhere and just spreads shit around. But he's very smart, and he's not listening to shit.
No, he's not listening.
He'll
be here though.
Here she is.
Get to hear it.
Here she is here yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah, that's Holly.
Yeah.
The redhead.
Pretty lady.
Where's the one? That's not her. Where's the one of her on the show?
You just passed it.
Here. This is. Well, no, that. See, look at me with my googly eyes. Nice person. She will be back on the show because she's a dog trainer.
Oh.
And you don't have a dog.
I've always had dogs, and I'm very good as an amateur dog trainer. The same principles apply to dog training as child training, child rearing. Absolutely.
Okay.
Very, very similar things, and we'll talk about that. I don't want to go and get ahead of that. But I just do want to mention she was a pip, and I complimented her voice. She had a good voice. I don't know if you noticed that. Good delivery, good velvet, good mic technique. All of these things. I don't think she goes to raves. I don't know, but she drinks. So we'll do something on the Friday that comes in. We'll have some wine. Chris brought some wine in or something. So that's my tirade. I feel a little bit better now.
Feel better.
And I'm going to make sure that Kimberly Johnson is going to be calling in at 1 o'clock. We're going to talk about all kinds of women's issues. Our musical guest is Honey Claus, not a black guy, like I thought.
Honey Claus.
Just it's a couple of white dudes.
Interesting.
From Texas, but I'll tell you what song to cue up when we come back from the break. Are you ready? Don't look ready. Your hands aren't on things. On SoFloRadio.com. See how we have dead air.
Radio network in the world. SoFloRadio.com.
When you're ready to actually lose weight safely and steadily while being monitored by a physician, the Weight Loss Clinic of Dr. Kim Jacobson is there for you. The family medicine practice was established by her father in 1956 and continues as a medical practice that now specializes in weight reduction. Dr. Kim Jacobson joined the practice 20 years ago as both a family medicine practitioner and weight loss specialist. The Weight Loss Clinic utilizes a combination of appetite suppression medication and vitamins to produce great results, usually 3 to 4 pounds per week for most patients. Now you can change your lifestyle while still enjoying your own food, just less of it. They offer a choice of 2, 3, or 4 week plans. So whether you just need to lose a few pounds or a lot, the Weight Loss Clinic of Dr. Kim Jacobson can help you. They're located at 5454 Northeast 4th Avenue in Miami, just 2 blocks west of 54th Street and Biscayne Boulevard. Call them at 305-751-0091. They'll be happy to answer any and all of your questions. That's 305-751-0091. Get started on a beautiful new body today with Dr. Kim Jacobson and the Weight Loss Clinic.
Strawberry patch and smoothie.
Get your hands off me.
Huh?
I said don't touch me.
I shouldn't have went to that party last night. Now I'm seeing talking fruit.
You're not dreaming, Bubba, and you're not putting me in that blender.
But you're just a fruit.
Who you calling a fruit?
You are. You're a delicious passion fruit.
Why, sure, I'm passionate. How would you like to be blended, huh? I got right, you know.
Customers waiting. You gotta go.
Yeah, but wait, you can...
At Power Smoothie in Aventura, we show fruit no mercy. Always fresh, always delicious. To make the best smoothies and wraps on earth, try our new cilantro lime-alicious wrap or our hot chipotle chicken. Power Smoothie in Aventura, located just north of the Aventura Mall in the Promenade Shops. Or call 305-792-5338. Open 7 days a week.
Broadcast radio production, sound design, audio, talk shows, commercials, trailers, voiceovers, webcasting, engineering, music. Learn how for a lot less than $10,000. Send a text to 954-803-9717. That's 954-803-9717.
back here. Not a sit, stay somewhere. Sit from what? Sit from when? Foot relax and soak it in. Two fellas disrupting mood. Why complain and shame on two? Waving at each other, salute as well wings and sing anthem of nations. Cold lemons, optimism, montages and tap recitals. Right on course, white wing horse. Waters, violence in the straddles. Up at 19, Son and Charlotte Chaplin Kane. Bar got horns of plane and sing. Too late to save the day, too late to save the saved. Old flames on course on boulevards. Shot insane and swole the art. And they make move get blown apart. Troop retreat and guard the art. With a noble cause from a wasted start. Summer spots where aloneness stops. Sustain the plots with same meat plots and tabletops. In restaurants with crayons. Persona performer like Elvis Costello. On stage left over stuff poured up. We train until I die in age. Violent string on kite box edge. Smoke ring middle look through no step on groove untouched by a soul of us. Way before eyes ears look up to loved ones in youthful days of freedom.
.1247, SoFloRadio.com. George Rodriguez, Randi Rocks. Is that what we're calling you? So you.
No, Randy Rocks works for now.
Okay. And Jack, not Jack Black, but Jack Frost. Recently heard on the Sports Heads, John Etch and the Sports Heads. He's one of the heads. I'm so not qualified for that.
Yes, I've heard.
I can't know about everything. I can fake my way through. I don't want to get into that. The audience is tired of hearing that. But George is anti-sports, and I go no, because one of the things that you're going to have to get used to or tired of, depending on what, is my insistence on the proper use of the English language.
Okay.
When people say, "Do you like food? Do you like eating?" They're not asking you if you like to watch people eat, are they?
No.
If somebody asks you if you like sex, they're not asking if you like to watch porn. They're asking if you like to engage in sex. But when people ask you, do you like sports? They're not asking you what games you enjoy playing. They're asking you what games you like to watch other men play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a improper use of the English language. I think that's not accurate. I like sports. I don't like to watch men play games, which I call GOMP, games other men play. Oh. I don't want to watch men eat, fuck, or play, because I like to do those things. Now, I have watched men do those things, and it's just not the same. Totally not the same for me. And I've heard the argument, oh, but they play it so well. Well, some men are really good at fucking. Way better than I could ever be. They're just like, they're giant, and they got all this stamina, and they got these moves, and they know the faces to make and everything. It's like, yeah, I could never, I mean, I'm pretty good, but I could never hope to be that good.
Then they get added on swingers
right.
ads and stuff like that.
So by that logic, I should really enjoy watching these men fuck more than fuck. No. And I know people that they got some table manners that'll just amaze you. You know, they know how to, they because you work at a restaurant, so you've seen some good table manners and some bad table manners. I'm sure everything in between. So, you know, like, you're supposed to eat the soup by pushing the spoon away from you, not towards you. You know, they know which fork to use for what, by the way, outside in, always outside in. Mm-hmm. You never see them buttering their biscuit with their steak knife. There's some people whose manners are just perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to watch them eat.
No.
I want to eat. I would rather eat with my mediocre manners, you know, with my napkin and my collar, which I guess is not inappropriate. I actually read an article.
But
George, if you're eating lobster or something like that.
George, there is no theater to eating.
You haven't.
Yes, you have a food channel.
You haven't eaten. You haven't eaten with Boca Brian,
right? I don't know if that's theater. That's more.
Oh well, something else. It's improv.
Yeah,
it's like a theater.
Yeah, but those things don't have storylines.
But I've played the games. I'm sorry, unless it's
me
or a friend of mine. I don't have a vested interest. But my position was very self-defensive, and it really didn't start until I went to work at QAM because. And like it goes with religion or any other difference. Like you can be around cool people where everybody agrees to disagree, live and let live, no problem. Never had a problem before anywhere that I lived, and even working down here, it's like, oh, I'm not into it. Okay, no problem. I'll just go and find somebody else to talk to about that game last night that you didn't see and don't care about. Okay, no problem. But at QAM, it was just like the church. It was like going to the sports church. And I was a heretic. I was a non-believer. And they wanted to drag me out of there and set me on fire for not caring about them.
How
and so
dare you
they
not
started
watch
attacking
men
me.
jump on top
I
of
mean, and
each
I got
other.
called a fag. For not, and working with Neil didn't help that either because that was the audience. Oh, you're fag. You've worked with that fairy. You're fag. Well, yeah. No. My wife is my beard and my children are my sideburns. I have one on each side. So you get it? It's all a big charade. So I had to develop a self-defensive posture when it came to the whole sports thing. So no, I'm not qualified because I don't watch. I'm not a spectator in the game of life. I've been saying that for years. Come to find out it's not original. Apparently Ernest Hemingway, and that's why I have this keychain, not just because it has a compass and a knife and a flashlight on it.
That doesn't hurt. Yeah, okay.
It totally works, and a knife, so that I have 7 knives. Pilar Rum, thank you. A gift from By the Glass from doing the show, but it says never a spectator. That's a Hemingway line. Right on, Ernest. I like you more already, not just because you were into Cuba and cats, but
and castration.
Was he into castration?
Well, I mean, if he couldn't have the love of his life, he would rather be castrated.
So did he get castrated or something?
I don't know. It was something I read.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. But anyway, I don't apologize for that. I got the guys that would make fun of me, these doughy, pudgy guys that would call me a fag for not wanting to watch the game. It didn't make any sense to me. I go,
the same ones that would leave sticky remnants behind.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I thought I would say, you like to sniff jock straps. I actually own jock straps that I have worn on my penis, not on my face the way that you do. You put them on your face and you use them as like a huffing mask.
Oh my god!
The way that kids, sniff glue, they get those. They get those masks that the painters use. They get those masks that the people that work with sandpaper, the sand blasting guys. They get those dust masks and everything. The glue sniffing kids would take those masks and put glue on the inside and just wear them around. For effect. These guys do that with jock straps.
And
these sports fags would do that with jock straps, and that's how I would say. Look,
he scored 40 points with this jock strap on.
Yeah, wonderful. If you would like, I'll go get one of my jock straps all sweaty. By doing something physical, like by playing a sport. I tried to get because we had a really good parking lot underneath the building over there at QAM. It was an underbuilding parking. You've seen these kind of parking areas. It was that smooth concrete slab, like almost shiny, really smooth. And on the weekends, it was practically empty. And I used to be in a fat old man hockey league.
Like roller with the inline
every time, it's
roller
like
hockey?
parking lot hockey, and it was a wonderful league to be a part of because they would stop for every 10-15 minutes. They would stop for a beer and a cigarette. I didn't smoke cigarettes, so it was great. I could keep up with those people. So I tried to get, because they were, they're talking hockey all the time and talking Panthers hockey all the time. But I brought my souvenir autographed hockey puck from my first year.
Look at that.
It's over there by Neil, and you can't see it. It's on the other side. Anyway. No interest. I tried to understand something at a sports station. I tried to organize a sport. They laughed at me. There were no takers. They wouldn't play.
They would rather
watch and rub liniment on their crotch while huffing a sweaty jockstrap than actually get off their ass and play.
Oh,
that's
disappointing.
Yeah. So don't tell me that. And so as they're continuing to call me a fag and give me a tough time, I said, name the physical contest of your choice. I don't even know what you're good at or if you're good at anything, but you name the physical contest of your choice. It could be, let's fight with pugil sticks over a balance beam, over a pool of shit. I don't care. A tug of war, ping pong. Can you play table tennis? Anything. I don't care. anything. You're a fag.
Well, see, George, I think I obviously don't fall in that category of those people that she's speaking of, because I admire the theatrics that sports provides, but I am not one of these people that, I don't prefer to sniff anybody's jockstrap. I don't even want to smell mine. I just want to throw it in the washing machine.
Mine smell like roses.
Yeah, great. And
candy.
That's awesome. But the thing is that I'd rather be caught up in the storylines and things of that nature, like any other show.
One of the guys, the best line, and thank you, the Beast, Brian the Beast London, perfectly round fat guy,
right.
just perfect example of a watcher of the game of life.
He
had a very good line. He says, sports is the male soap opera, and I said, okay, and I can accept that. That's wonderful, because I don't watch and I have tried to watch the female soap operas. The wife tried to get me into that on many occasions. The female soap opera. Now, when I was on vacation, like every day I'm watching, and she's the daytime soaps when they used to have those, and she's explained Bold and the Beautiful and all that. I remember Ridge and Taylor and whatever. Anyway, and I'm watching, and I'm watching, and I'm watching, and I'm watching. I'm like, wow, I've been watching the soap opera for a month, and they're still on the same day. Yeah. They're still in that same doctor's office waiting for the test results. You want to talk about stretching it out, like, wow. Yeah. I want to write for a soap opera. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I want to write for a soap opera. Where's a pen? I had a pen over here somewhere. Did you take my pen? No, I don't use any of those. Keep trying.
What is that, for decoration?
I don't know. It's brown.
Okay,
here we go. This will do. Red. This one says Self-Flow Radio on it. I'm going to write for a soap opera. Ready? Like, once. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to write another word. That's it. I wrote once. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm writing some more.
One.
So I try to get into it. So I thought that's a perfect example. Another boring thing where nothing happens that people are all obsessed over. So it's a perfect example. Wonderful analogy.
Like Walking Dead.
No, Walking Dead. People get eaten by zombies. By the way,
awesome.
And Holly Blankney likes zombie stuff. She was sporting zombie jokes and everything when she was here. Mm-hmm. She injured her foot, and she said that it was a zombie bite. Just right there.
Great.
Right there. Witty.
Awesome.
Witty, clever stuff. Got a whole page full of stuff to write to talk about, but I don't want to get into any of it before Kimberly calls in. I have her honorifics over here. She's an activist for women's rights, a political blogger. She's working on her next book for women on the importance of voting and feminism. She calls herself the anti-Coulter.
Oh.
Because we hate. As a matter of fact, leading up to, because we have some Boca Brian and Coulter bits. Did you know?
This should be interesting.
I would love to hear those.
Have you not? Oh,
I haven't.
They're disgusting. Is my pot up? I don't see that it is. It should always be. It's just. Did I warn you? Boca Brian is the most and Boca Brit now. And I said this to Randy when I was explaining Boca. It was not a short explanation either. The most talented parodist who has ever lived. Mm-hmm. Weird Al Yankovic. Isn't as funny. Will never be as like Boca, more funnier before 9 a.m. than Weird Al has ever been in his entire freaking life. But I'm warning you, it's adult.
She's a perfect natty who likes to flash her panties when she don't have those on. She's hanging like pastrami on rye and Coulter's rancid snatch. And Coulter's rancid snatch. Imagine what you can catch from Ann Coulter's snatch. Gonorrhea pot, you scratches with a brush. She banged Geraldo and Bill Maher, but she'll never get Drudge. And Coulter's rancid snatch. And Coulter's rancid snatch. A swirling pool of crap. And Coulter's rancid snatch. Oozing pungent moisture. Leaking out her cloister. Walking with a dildo firmly jammed inside of her butt. And Coulter's rancid snatch. And Coulter's rancid snatch. Don't wanna know what it could hatch. Ann Coulter snack.
Can't talk when the mic's off. Yeah, and now that we hear it, please answer the phone and pot it up.
SoFlo Radio.
Hello,
That's my job.
Kimberly.
Kimberly Johnson. We just played a really disgusting, filthy Ann Coulter
Yes,
song
I heard it.
honor. Really? Were you listening on the on your internets?
Yes, I was.
I got more. I just don't know where to find them. And thank you for calling up and the honorifics. And I didn't read this article because I just opened up your message right now. That you sent me. Was I supposed to do some research? Because
No.
the research that I did was completely different than this. I did a lot of drugs and watched a lot of movies. That was the research that I did last night.
Then you're all prepared.
Thank you. Then I am. Louder. How are you?
I'm good. I haven't talked to you guys for so long.
For so long. The last time that you were on, we were promoting the Virgin Diaries with you, which I
Yes.
still have in my bookcase, and it moves around. You know, it gets passed around like my wife at a party. The Virgin Diaries, and people read snippets out of it. Why don't you tell us about what the book that you're working on first, and then we can get into some things because I wrote down some ideas.
Okay. Well, I can hear myself.
Let me
You know
fix
that?
that. No, I didn't. I thought I made the proper adjustments. Let me fix that right now.
Okay.
How about now?
I
Talk.
No, I can still hear myself.
I don't know what to do. Sing a song.
No. Maybe if I tried a different phone or something?
No.
No.
We just played with the board a lot.
Oh, I see.
So I'm going to try different experiments. Try now. No.
So now what was I saying?
Oh, that was
Oh,
good
I
for
can
you.
hear
But
myself again.
yeah, we.
I don't
couldn't
know.
hear you.
I don't know why you're hearing yourself. This is a horrible thing. I thought I had everything working just fine. I'm gonna fix it.
Okay. I think I'm
How about now?
No, I can hear myself.
No way!
Way. Freaking technology.
I know. We were just doing this
We do it live.
yesterday.
I know.
Everything was great.
How about I hang up and call right back?
Give us
Would that matter?
hang up and call right back. Do that.
Okay.
And I'll find the other Ann Coulter song. So much for live radio. I'm sure glad I didn't promote this today. Where's Vashon Robinson when I need him? I had a whole bunch of Ann Coulter songs, but I don't know. Ooh. But that's not the right one that we can use to kill time with. Because there's no way that we're going to be able to test this without her. Oh, I know what we can do. Trade places with me for real quick, Jack.
All right.
It's live radio.
One moment, please. Hello. How about now?
This sounds much better. No, I can hear myself.
I know you can. Hang on a second. And I don't. The studio is all screwed up today, and it's probably my fault. And I'm going to play with some things while you're here.
I feel sorry for the listeners.
Yeah, I feel sorry for the listeners
I think
too.
It's good now.
No, now talk. There we go.
Okay.
How about now?
Yes, I'm fine. Everything's working good.
Yeah. See. All right. Now we can switch places back again.
Was that the mix minus that needs to be
Yeah,
adjusted?
it was a it was a horrible phone setting thing. We had it's a marginally interesting story that we'll save for when we have the person in the studio. But a female friend of mine borrowed the studio for a charade. It was a really funny thing. She told the people that she had an office in downtown Hollywood, which is where we are. And she used to have an office in downtown Hollywood, but recently moved the office into her home. And she made a mistake of telling these people that she still had the office in downtown Hollywood. So she freaked out and panicked, like, "Oh my God!" So I let her use the my studio. Of course, I mean, we had to move everything out and then put everything back in, and it just didn't get in right. So, all right, now that we got everything squared away, tell us about the new book, The Importance of Women Being Politically Active, or something like that. What's the name of it?
Yeah, the importance of voting and feminism. I'm trying to tackle some of the issues that, for instance, like the apathy in voting, or the fact that young women equate feminists with hairy armpitted harpies who hate men, or that are bullies or something.
Hey.
And I mean, I'm a feminist, and
Right. And you're hot.
don't- well, thank you. But I don't, I'm not on the extreme end of feminism. I'm just a woman who believes in equality, and it's pretty simple. And I think that it's a shame that in the, I don't know, probably since Reagan, the feminism term has gotten beat up, as well as the Equal Rights Amendment has gotten beat up. So I'm just writing about those things, and I'm trying to incorporate some of my personal experiences as to why I'm a feminist and always have been before I even knew what the word meant, and using examples of my own life, examples of my, fight on the war on women, and then also just some stories from the past about some of the things women have endured that a lot of people don't know about. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now, and I'm about halfway done the first draft.
What are the things that, I mean, when you're talking about things that that they don't know about, you're talking about things about women that women don't know about.
Right. Like, for instance, I discuss Alice Paul, who was the woman who basically led the charge in getting women the right to vote into the Constitution. And I also talk about, my father told me this, and it was just such a fascinating and sad story, and I looked it up, so I did a blog post on it, but it's called the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory, and I don't know if you're familiar with that, but long story short, it actually talks about the importance of unions, because unions and workers' labor laws resulted from this, but women, I can't remember, I think it was like 1925 or something, there were a bunch of young women who worked in a factory that in New York, and they were sewing, and they were locked in there with low wages, and the owners of the factory would chain the doors shut so they couldn't leave. And I think they were on the 8th floor, and the building caught on fire. And so these women were stuck, and they wound up jumping out of the building to their deaths in order to preserve their bodies for their families so they wouldn't be burned up. And it was
very conscientious of them,
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it was so horrific, and and it just goes to show you why unions are needed, and the stories of women in history are often not discussed in schools. So I like to talk about, and there was also the Radium Girls, which I can't remember it was early in the 1900s, and these women were hired and actually
painting the watch faces.
Yes, and they were told to mold the brushes with their mouths, because they would, quickly get all messy, and so they would just, and then they got these horrible diseases of the jaws, and and everybody knew, the owners of the radium factory or whatever knew that radium was dangerous, but they didn't care. So.
Well, I'm really, as the audience might not know, we're Facebook friends, and boy, I share and like your posts like a son of a bitch, and generally, and because here's the thing, we've been talking about, and I don't know if you're looking at the webcam, my two interns, co-hosts, and producers in training, I got Jack on my left over here, and Randy. Say hi, Randy.
Hi.
So I have a male and a female, and they're both black, and we've been talking about the Trayvon thing a lot and going back and forth. And one of the things that I've talked about on my show a lot is humans versus the subhumans, and I call that's my term for the people that would rather relate to the subgroup that they belong to rather than the greater group of the human race. And why can't we all concentrate on things that affect all of us? And then a lot of the things that affect us in our subgroup will be taken care of as a side effect, and the things that aren't, then we can take care of later after we get these big major issues that apply to everyone, like the entire world. So I feel a little bit resentful or less sympathetic when I hear someone talk about the problem that's particular to their group as opposed to something that might affect me. It doesn't make me feel like they care as much about me, so why should I care about them? Which is the pushback that I get when I talk about a lot of women's issues, and there's a reason that I talk about women's issues as much as I do objectively, but I get accused of, it's like, well, George, you have daughters, so you want to make the world better for your daughters, and I'm like, well, first of all, damn straight. What kind of a father would I be if I didn't want to make the world better for my daughters? And I certainly don't understand all of these sexist pigs out there. that continue to be very chauvinistic and very sexist, despite the fact that they have daughters and they have wives and they have sisters and everybody has a mother. It's like, how do you look your mother in the eye and promote these policies that are very damaging to women? Because I don't believe that women's issues are a set of issues that only apply to women. I think that that they apply to everyone, either directly or indirectly. The radium girls and those and the women in that fire, just like the child labor laws, it just happened to be women or children on those particular occasions, but the corrective measures affected everyone. And just like the coal miner thing, it's like, well, you might not care about coal miners so much, but it was the struggle of the coal miners and those unions that affected our lives the way that they did. The 40-hour work week and the overtime pay and the safety standards and things like that. All of it together. You can't just divorce yourself from it's easier to associate, like say, well, I'm not going to be involved with black issues because I'm not black. Okay, well, you can't make that same excuse when it comes to women, because we all come from women. And
a lot of the issues that have to do with women's, whether it's reproductive rights or equal pay, it does affect everybody. Because if you just look at the whole abortion issue that's happening right now, if you've got, if you're a man and you're in a relationship with a woman who maybe you've been sexually active with but are not ready to commit yourself for the rest of your life, and she winds up getting pregnant, and she lives in a state where there are no more clinics that will, be able to terminate the pregnancy, then all of a sudden it becomes your issue too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all a divisive tool at the end of the day, because like you said, there is a preconceived thought of what a feminist is, and a lot like when it comes to situations of race where, okay, like George said, it's just for the black folks. Well, no, it's an overall issue for all of us as human beings if we're trying to move forward. But when you say, they're talking about burning bras and things of that nature, it just, it's a dismissive thing.
The bottom line to, equality, and I I don't know if you know about the Cubans, but we're not considered a minority down here, nor are we oppressed down here in South Florida. Indeed, quite the opposite. We have to hear complaints all the time from the gringos. I can't get a job because I can't speak Spanish. My Cuban boss fired me because I can't speak Spanish. Like, payback's a bitch, isn't it? But they're very sexist. Latin culture is very sexist. So I'm constantly getting into arguments with my own people, if you will, and even some of the women. I just, for the life of me, and every group has them, during the American Revolution, there were Americans that fought on the side of the British. During every revolution, there were peasants that fought on the side of royalty. There are black Republicans. There are female Republicans. I don't get it. What, besides, and in the case of, because you mentioned Ann Coulter, in the case of people like that, she's getting paid. Whether or not she actually feels that way, that's her meal ticket. She wouldn't make the money that she makes if she wasn't a sellout.
Right. No, I totally think with her, I don't necessarily believe the crap, because one of the things that she said was that women shouldn't have the right to vote, and basically that's
Did she really say that?
Wow. Right.
Yeah, she really said
first
that.
First of all, I don't think she is a woman. I think she's a dude in drag. She's got a giant Adam's apple.
I think she's
and
an alien.
She's, by the way, she's never been seen in the presence of a straight man. You know this, right?
Right.
She's also for all that she wrote that book Godless. There's no picture of her inside a church. No one has
just unbelievable.
She's shocked. She's total shock. She's like Howard Stern.
Totally.
She says provocative things because the right wingers pay her to do so and reward her and pat her on the head and throw her a bone to do so.
She's a female Glenn Beck.
But what's the other? But that's her. What's everybody else's excuse? I see so many female politicians, and I watch those Republican rallies, and they're all these women, and they can't just be there because their husband threatens to beat them.
Well, I mean,
no, I think they just sometimes it has to do with religion, and
okay,
and then other times I believe it truly is about taking on personal responsibility. And then then there's just some other women, because there are Republican feminists, and I will probably get slammed for this, but Ann Coulter is one of them. Phyllis Schlafly, who had to stop the ERA Now campaign, is definitely a feminist, or at least took advantage of feminism while she was railing against it. And, you know, I mean, there's another duo who I might get slammed for this, and they hate my guts, but their names are Chicks on the Right. And, you know, I look at them, and they have a Facebook page, and they're gaining in popularity. They have a radio show. They are intelligent women who run a fantastic, you know, website and blog, and they are really smart women. But it's like that. Bill Maher had a list, or you know, on his show last week, he talked about smart, stupid people, and that's kind of how I associate them, because they're so intelligent on one hand, and then on the other hand, they love Ted Cruz.
I think intelligent is a relative term when you say that.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know what, I mean, they're smart. They're book smart. They know how to.
They're book smart, but they're unwise. They're very naive, I think.
Yeah, well, they've fallen in, unfortunately, in my opinion, they've fallen into the feudal lords, and they've just, you know, they've eaten all the Fox crap and the Breitbart crap, and I don't know. I think that it also stems a little bit from anger and hatred coming out in this particular way, because you cannot be a Republican woman and, you know, scream and shout for these Republican politicians that are taking away their rights and not have it come from some kind of anger. You know, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay. But it's also become very fashionable to, you know, like that 1950s style where you have the Stepford wives and, you know, women playing their roles and gender roles. Like it's been made very fashionable. And girls of my generation, we don't really identify with being feminist, but we do identify with these issues, and we do want to be, you know, seen as equal.
Well, then I'd like to ask you then, what is, when you say you don't with the word feminist, what does that mean to you?
Well, I have the whole demonized sometimes view of bra burning, you know, just wanting to be equal with men.
Sounds hot.
Well, then what would be wrong with being equal with men?
Nothing. There's nothing wrong with that at all, and that should be the goal for everyone.
Right.
You know, just to be seen equally, but more like a woman that is against men.
Right.
And
that, you know what, to me, all of those negative rumors and connotations associated to the word are a success of the people in the Republican Party who wanted to do away with women fighting for equal rights and attached. I mean, of course there are extremists. I mean, we can look at the women in Pussy Riot in Russia who have been jailed.
Free Pussy Riot!
Free Pussy!
Oh, but they are extreme. You know, they take an extreme stance, and
sure,
with
but they're trying to get attention.
Movement,
I mean, they're first of all, they're in show business, so they know that it's about getting attention, and they want attention for their issue. Those of us who you grew up with the electronic medium, you know that you get attention by doing outrageous things.
Right.
And once you gather the crowd by whatever, flashing your boobs or burning something or spray painting something, then you can deliver the message. I mean, we do it here on the talk show all the time. The nature of the comedy bits, as offensive as they are, is, you know, we want to get people's attention. We want to throw a bucket of cold water in someone's face and shock them into paying attention and talking about it and thinking about it and engaging them that way.
Right, yeah, and it's true. And, you know, sometimes that is what it takes, and it takes an extreme kind of a thing to get your attention. And I really would hope that, you know, we can move past this negativity, because what's really sad to me is, you know, I work with the Equal Rights Amendment, and there is a new push to get it ratified into the Constitution. So, you know, as I've been working and moving forward this way.
Yay, by the way. Yay to that. And by the way, the Equal Rights Amendment, let me explain to people, isn't just about women. It's about equality for everyone.
Exactly. And that's all it is. It actually doesn't, I'd love to really make sure everybody understands this. It has nothing to do with reproductive issues. It's actually something that Republican women and Republican men and, you know, anybody who believes that people are equal, it's something we can all rally behind together. And I think it would really be important to find, you know, in this divided country, to find something that, you know, members of the political, of all the political parties or no political party can say, hey, yeah, we can get behind this and we can push for this. In fact, it was the Republicans who introduced the ERA back in the 70s.
Well, back when they
When they were
back when
really
they were
Republicans.
conservative meant a different thing, right? The Republican Party of Abraham Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt, my favorite president, by the way. I love that.
Well,
Teddy
but this was just prior to Reagan. So
Right.
Reagan came in and kind of screwed
Sure.
everything up for everybody.
Yeah.
And
Well, they were
put
the Freedom
negative
Party.
connotation on it.
They were the Freedom Party, and they got taken over by big business and big
economists.
religion.
Right.
And they was, oh yeah, we want that word freedom to only apply to us, big business, major corporations, churches. That's what freedom should apply to, not the little people. And money with their money, they took it over. By the way, with regards to equality, and I just want to say one thing. One of the reasons that I love you so much. It's not just because you're tall and beautiful, although that doesn't hurt. How tall are you? Like 5'11" or something crazy like
6 feet.
Awesome.
Wait, when you come, hey, you come to Hollywood, Florida, baby, I want to be seen in public with you. So you post things that do apply to everyone, and so they're all very endearing to me. But I was talking to Jack the other day, and I don't remember if it was on the air or off the air, maybe a combination of both. And I think it's the Declaration of Independence. It says that all men were created equal, and I take issue with that because no, we're not created equal. Some people are tall, some people are smart, some people are strong, some people are stupid. And men and women are not equal. We have more upper body strength. It's just a fact, and that's why we've been able to dominate women since the beginning of time. What ought to be equal is the system. We ought to be treated the same with the system. And just in the name of fairness, if we all pay taxes, the institutions that our tax dollars pay for should treat us all equally. If everyone pays X percentage, let's say, men and women work and they all pay the same at the same income level. They pay the same in taxes. They deserve to be represented the same way, even if one is physically stronger than the other, even if one is beautiful and another one is ugly, even if one can sing and the other one can't. We're not equal. We're all very, very different. We're different genders. We're different sizes. We're different colors. We're different cultures. We like different things. We're allowed
different.
to be different. And by the way, I should be allowed to be an asshole, and I should be allowed to be a bigot. But the system should not be allowed to be bigoted.
Well, this is how I see it. When I look at equal, I don't see it as that we're not equal, because that's kind of what you're dealing with here is social issues. We are all equal, but we are different. Men and women are different. And, the Stop the ERA campaign focused so much that women wanted to be men. And they were putting these ridiculous rumors out there that, we were going to have some kind of gender-neutral society. As long as women have vaginas and men have penises, we're not going to be a gender-neutral society. We're always going to have differences. But basically, it boils down to one very simple thing: equality under the law. Period.
Right.
We should all be equal. I don't care who you are. If you're not an American citizen, you're still a human being, and you're equal. Maybe you don't have the exact same rights, as an American citizen, or if you go to another country, but as far as feminism, as far as the Equal Rights Amendment, it all has to do with just equality under the law. And the one thing that's very simple, and it would make this debate that we keep seeing Republicans blocking every single time for equal pay. It would make equal pay, when we get it into the Constitution, it will be federal law.
Right.
There will be no arguments about, should women get equal pay. That's such crap
I've
that
heard
we're even having this conversation. It's like, are you kidding?
It totally is such crap. I explain things to my female friends. The ratio of female friends to male friends is staggering with me. I don't know if we covered that before, but I was raised by my sister and her teenage friends, and then I lived with my sister when she had 4 daughters, and then I had 2 daughters. So I clock more time around women than most women do. So I'm always explaining men to my female friends, and it's not something that women should take personally, that we all have our hormones, and what testosterone does is it drives us to dominate. And dominate what? Dominate everything. Dominate the environment, dominate the animals, dominate the people around us, no matter what color or gender they are. Even if they're identical twins, will try to dominate each other, and we will grab any weapon, any difference, exploit any angle to apply whatever leverage we can, and in order to win that contest. We're fueled by this competitive hormone that makes us want to win, 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 take, have. So when women talk about, in the workplace, the men are using my gender against me, it's like, of course, if you were a different color, they would use that against you. If I'm a short man, they use that against me. Any difference, anything that they can point out to the other people around them and say, oh, see, that person's different, so therefore they don't deserve as much. Give me that promotion. Give me that raise. That's what it's not personal. It just so happens. It's a matter of fact that that's the difference. And they're going to try to exploit that. The people of color, and they've done all those studies, by the way. Not only do short men get promoted less often, they get hired less often,
right.
But when it comes to the women thing, they had a whole documentary on it. It was like one of those Dateline shows where they had the police lineup room, complete with a little height scale there, and they marched in a bunch of men, and in the other room were a panel of women from all walks of life, all different income levels and ethnicities, etc. And they paraded in a lineup of mixed men and had the women rate the men just based on attractiveness, who you would like to date. And the short guy always got picked last. So then they brought in a different group of women and the same men and dressed them all differently. And they dressed the short men better than because I always thought this was a surprise to me, because I always thought that money dominated everything where women were concerned with attractiveness. They dressed the short men better, and he still got picked last. Then the third time they dressed the short men better, and they actually told the women backgrounds on the men. When they told them that the short guys were like professionals, like doctors and lawyers, members of the community, members of the Big Brothers organization, and the tallest of the men, they said, oh, he's got a prison record, he's unemployed, he lives with his mom, he beats women. They still picked the tall men first as most attractive, and the short guy still came in last despite every other consideration. So I want to say, if I can be a good sport about that, everybody can be a good sport about what they are, but back to the system should not penalize people for the things that they can't help, like their gender or their height or their color or the accent that they have or something like that. That's what equal rights is all about. It's equal under the law. This preferential, like institutionalized bigotry, how can anybody say that that's okay?
The people that are making the laws.
Well, they are, because they want to hold on to the power for themselves. No one, and it's a Facebook meme over here. Let's speak in Facebook quotes. No one in a position of power ever gave that power up willingly or voluntarily.
Not at all.
It had to be taken from them by the people that were being dominated by them, and that's and so here we are fighting once again for equal rights. I remember, because I remember watching that go down in the 70s, and I was really shocked.
Oh my God, you're old.
I'm old, man. I'm old, Kimmy.
Say it again, Kim.
But I was really surprised that it didn't pass. I thought it was a no-brainer back then as a child.
Yeah, well, it's just, we're one of the only... I learned this last year. I was actually the spokeswoman for Rock the Slut Vote. And I
wanted to ask you about that.
Oh, yeah, well, I'll go into that in a minute. But I was speaking at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., and I met this woman, and her name is Kamala Lopez, and she's an activist and an actress. And she was doing a documentary and asked me about equality, and was the one who pointed out to me that the Equal Rights Amendment had never been ratified. And I was so horrified for three reasons. I was horrified that it had never been ratified. I was horrified that I didn't even know this information. And I was horrified that most people don't know this information. And, I figured at that point that it was going to be I was just going to keep going and pushing until, I could help get it ratified or do my part in it. And so I've been taking more of a active approach especially in the last year. And what's really great is there is a ground movement now, like a guerrilla kind of a movement, to remove. There was a deadline. This is just, I can never get over this, but there was a deadline placed on equality for women. So I think it was 1982 or 1983, they put a deadline on it. And so right now, there is a new push to remove that deadline. And actually, if your listeners want to go check it out and pester their representatives, I have on the blog that I write for, it's called Liberals Unite. You can just Google Liberals Unite, and then on the right-hand side of the screen, there's a woman's I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a women's action center. And there are the resolutions that are up, and when you click on those resolutions, it just says the removing the deadline, and then it shows all the people who have signed and sponsored. So I'm working with a lot of ERA activists, and what we're doing is we're contacting the senators and the representatives and saying, will you please sign, whatever the number is to the resolution, whether it's a phone call, an email, but an effort to let them know that we would like for them to do this. And what I'm doing is, because I write for Liberals Unite, the political blog, I am kind of taking a risk here and calling out the representatives and senators who are not signing. And the most recent one, his name is Bradley Schneider of Illinois. He's a representative, and he was contacted by me many, many, many times, as well as I know his constituents and voters. And sometimes these elected officials like to play the game of, well, we only like to hear from our constituents. And that's all fine and good, but when it comes to equal rights, it's a national issue, so I don't really care that they just want to hear from their constituents. They're going to hear from everybody. And so what I do is I give them plenty of notice and say, hey, will you sign this resolution? And if you don't want to sign it, could you please provide a statement as to why? And specifically with Bradley Schneider, his chief of staff, his name is Reed Adamson, never, ever, ever replied to any of my emails, as well as I know people on, my Facebook page had contacted the office, never got a reply. And as I was, basically pounding him to try to get anything out of him, I found an article from somebody else who had the same issue, and it wasn't just with the ERA, it was about voting rights, but it was, this guy won't get back to his voters, and he's a Democrat.
I saw. I just posted it on Facebook. The article that you sent me, I just posted it on my own Facebook. So if you're listening, and you're like, what article is she talking about? Just go to my Facebook page, and if you're not on Facebook, I'm just sorry, you're missing out on a lot.
I know, really. But yeah, it's like we need to bug these guys. And what I would like to add to this is, before I stop talking about it, is there was another senator, and I won't bag on him and I won't say his name, but he was kind of doing the same thing. We were getting platitudes. The women that I work with were actually visiting his office and working with his chief of staff and saying, hey, this is, all it is. It's all it means is you're just going to sign on in show of support. And they just wouldn't do it. And I've heard that, they were working on him for years and years and years. So finally, I kept saying, I'm going to write an article. I'm going to write an article. And nothing. So I wrote an article, and it was very unflattering, and it just basically detailed everything that I experienced and what people were saying when they contacted the office. He signed the next day after the article was published. So, I got a little bit of a backlash because he is a Democrat, and people don't want me to call out Democrats, but it's like, you know what, I'm a woman, first and foremost, and I don't even identify as a Democrat. I identify as a liberal, and I vote Democrat because they are the closest thing to what I believe in. But if I see an injustice and I see that they're ignoring women's rights, I'm going to call them out. And if you don't like it, tough.
There, and I even gave you credit for it. I should write down, she's on with us right now. I'm going to comment on that.
All right, cool. Well, I hope people read it. And, and this is just about to put pressure. People don't realize we pay for his, I don't pay. I live in California. But people who live in Illinois who want equal rights, they pay for him, to be their representative, and they give him a nice and generous salary. And when you just throw your hands up in the air and say, oh, well, politics, there's nothing I can do. Yeah, they work for you.
Right.
There is. You can
they're
hire
supposed
them.
to. That's what it's supposed to be.
People don't realize that. If you had a company and you had an employee that was, losing you money and bringing down morale, would you just throw your hands up in the air and say, oh, well,
yeah.
No.
A lot of these politicians, it seems they're more into self-service instead of public service.
Well,
and that's all fine and good, but we have to make sure that changes.
Absolutely. Kim, thank you so much for bringing attention to these things, because whatever we put our attention on grows, and the media has done such a good time of keeping us, stuck to our honey boo-boos and sports and everything else, but you're putting attention on the things that we should have our attention on, especially equal rights, and I'm so grateful for you bringing out that awareness.
There we go.
Well, thank you.
My on the news feed, mine just popped up right behind yours, so we're there together.
Yay.
Kimmy,
Yay.
on the news feed. Tell me more about the. I love, and we talked about this the last time that you were on the show. There's a double standard. And I hope you're prepared for the elimination of, because that's one of the things that my wife used to say is, she was very hypocritical about the double standards when it comes to women's rights. She wanted all of the same equal rights with men, but she didn't want to give up any of the ways in which women have advantages, like when it comes to child custody or things like that. I suppose you're a proponent for just, equality is equality, and nobody gets preferential treatment, and the system ought to be blind to gender, as well as race and all of these other things, because you're not a hypocrite.
No, absolutely not, and it is. I mean, people have also asked me about the draft, and the only thing that I have to say about that is I'm kind of glad I'm too old to be drafted, but if I were 22, with how I feel about it at this moment, I would still be fighting for the ERA, and it's not that, everybody's going to be drafted into a war, but if it came down to it, that's what equality is about. And if you want to live in a country that is free and gives equality to its citizens, which it shouldn't give, it should just already be there.
Right.
But, there are going to be some things, and I believe that that's the women who fought against the ERA were part of what they were fighting against is the idea that they couldn't live off of a man anymore, and they had that right to do it. And
sure you can.
I know, and that's the thing. It's like equal rights means, you could do anything you want.
Right.
You can go get a job.
Right.
You can be a
it's up
CEO.
to you.
Or you can go marry a man and let him take care of you, and that's your business.
Yeah,
not my business.
There will always be, women like my wife living off of men out there. Forever and ever. It's an option. There are men living off of women, so
right. I mean, but that's the whole deal about equality is everybody used to pick and choose what kind of life they want.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they're not, killing people and hurting people, they get to do whatever they want. And I just have never understood, why there's this big argument and push against feminism and equality. It's like, are you kidding me?
Besides comedy value and joke value, because the term slut, I think we discussed it the last time that you were on the show. I point out to people that one of the ways in which that we are in a non-equal society is there is no positive word for a woman who has a lot of sex with a lot of partners in our language, and there is no negative word in the English language for a man who does so. And I think that's probably, people don't think about that, but it's a glaring indication of the difference. And I tell my female friends, that's not a little thing. The fact that I can go out and do whatever the hell I want with whoever I want, and the only thing that will happen socially, and I'm not talking about diseases or anything like, barring all of those kinds of things, but socially, as far as my peers are concerned, it raises my esteem. I'll get patted on the back by my male friends, and even my female friends will call me a stud.
Mayor of New
York. I'll run for mayor. There's no
wiener.
There's no. Yeah, we're going to get to him. But there's no. That's a thing, and I think that's a situation that men started a long time ago. The calling women a slut for acting basically the way that they themselves do. But I see women perpetuating that double standard. I see women pointing their finger at other women for basically applying their rights or exercising their rights to have as many sex partners as they want to have, because men are doing it.
Yeah, it's funny because the whole Rock the Slut vote thing for me came about when Rush Limbaugh opened his big fat mouth and called Sandra Flick a slut because she wanted, he lied, but she wanted birth control to be on the insurance plan. And so this woman, Susan, started Rock the Slut vote, and I wrote an open letter to Rush Limbaugh from a liberal slut on my blog and posted it on her Rock the Slut vote Facebook page. And then, a marriage of, let's go fight the GOP happened, and I became the spokeswoman. And since then, she handed the page over to me. So anybody listening, if you want to join, it's Rock the Slut Vote on Facebook. And I try to just keep everybody informed. And, there isn't so much emphasis, at least with the posts, on the word slut. But I think the whole slut thing, to a degree, it will always exist because there's always going to be certain differences between men and women, and there's always going to be pettiness from women to other women. And, when you take a look at women's sexuality and men's sexuality, women are just a little different when it comes to sex. So it's kind of funny because it's like, are we ever going to get rid of the idea to shame women with the word slut? Probably not. We're just going to be able to fix some of the, when it comes to equality and it comes to the workplace and stuff. I think, in a slow, just like with marriage equality, as we see marriage equality just evolving and going down, eventually it'll just not be a big deal. And, slowly, we can move away from shaming people with the word slut. But it's never going to go away completely. It's going to always be there. And, the whole rock the slut vote thing is kind of like, well, if she's a slut, then I'm a slut. And, if she wants birth control on her insurance program, then I'm a slut too, because I want it too, if that's what you're going to do. And we're going to take away the meaning of that word. But it'll always exist to a degree. Because
so that's the
men
plan?
have a different view on sex than women.
I was starting a campaign on the radio show, not much of a campaign, just a line of discussion to come up with a word, an alternative word for slut that just means the same thing. But is it that word? Just basically a woman who is sexually liberated. And there's a beginning, we'd make slut an acronym like sexually liberated. Something just basically a woman who has sex on her own terms, and not the old-fashioned way, which is basically you got to get something for it, which is to me is less honorable. I mean, that makes you a prostitute when you hold out until you receive something of value, and even according to the definition of it, because we have to learn lottery laws in broadcasting to make sure that we don't advertise something that constitutes as gambling. And the definition of a gambling or a lottery is it has to contain the element of chance and consideration. You have to pay consideration in order to play. And consideration can mean money, time, or activity. In other words, you have to do something or pay something of value in order to participate in the contest, in order to get something. So if a woman is making you pay with money, time, or a certain activity that doesn't really relate to that particular exchange of sexuality, then you're paying for it. And then that, so you're saying that being a slut is wrong, but being a prostitute is mandatory and necessary.
Right.
You have to get something for it. And that doesn't sound very edifying, but basically that's what, and even that's what these women are saying. It's like, oh, you gave it up too easy. Oh, you
should have held out.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Held out for what? For more food? I really think I think that you're doing the right thing and embracing the word, taking the negative stigma out of it, making a joke of it. Basically, is the way that I see it. And so I'm very proud of that.
It really has to do more with the subjugation of women and the GOP more than anything, because on a social level, there's, people are, just an example, the word tard or retard, people get really upset about that, and they don't want you to use it, and I'm not saying that anybody should, but like what I'm going to say is, okay, so if you look up the definition of mentally retarded, you can apply it to where somebody is retarded in an area. They don't have they don't understand it, they can't grasp it, whatever it is. I don't know the actual definition, but they're retarded in that area. And we've made it into this like politically incorrect word that you can't say it anymore.
It means inhibited. It means it's a synonym for the word inhibited. It's held back.
Right.
In the case of human development, it means that your brain is stunted or held back. You can have a retarded limit. It's language changes over time.
Right.
So then people take those kinds of words, whether it's retarded or mentally impaired or whatever, and then they attach it and they make it like a
an
put
insult,
down.
right?
So then everybody freaks out and says, "Oh my God, you can't." And the way I look at it is like a retarded person is probably not going to get offended by somebody else using that term because they probably don't even understand it anyway.
Oh.
And usually, retarded people, hopefully, like I have a relative who has Down syndrome, and it's pretty severe. And I know that she's very well taken care of, and she's very happy, and she probably doesn't care that anybody would be using this. It's the people who take care of her that care.
Take offense
because
to
they
it,
feel that it's like some kind of a negative thing toward her. And the thing is no matter what you call somebody, no matter if there's going to be some kind of a description for being mentally impaired, then somebody somewhere is going to use that as an insult. So that you can never be free of it. And I just look at slut in the same way. It's like there's always going to be something about women or men or short people or tall people or fat people or black people or Chinese people, whatever it is. They're going to use it as a negative way just because people are jerks and they're mean sometimes. And I wish we could just all get over it and stop debating over semantics and just look at the actual situation of how women are being treated in this country, and woohoo! And since they won, this is like a big shout out to everyone. Vote progressive in 2014, because when they got in 2011, it's because people said, oh, Obama didn't wave his magic wand in 3 minutes and change everything in 3 minutes, and so we're giving up and we're not going to vote. And look what happened. The Tea Party got in, and they went that shit on women's rights.
Yeah, they
that shit. You know, and it's
those
like,
are bad people.
Bring us back.
Oh my
to the
God!
Stone
So we
Age.
got to get them out, and and we've got to stop debating over words. We've got to get past it. We've got, unfortunately, with the stuff that we've seen in Texas, I think we're seeing the rise of the third wave feminists, and we're seeing, the women coming out of the woodwork to protest. And it's a long, hard battle that we're going to have to fight, but we'll win if we just stick together.
And an entire generation of women just being introduced to feminism as
we
well.
need them. We need them because the youth is,
I need them.
The youth is very important.
I need feminist women. Tall ones, Kimberly. So you're not prejudiced against short guys?
No.
I know. I wanted to hear it again because that was
I know,
probably
we talked
the
about
first
this
thing.
before.
At great length. Before, can't wait to be seen with you in public walking down the street. Although my wife, my soon-to-be ex-wife, is 5'11", so.
Yes, I heard that you are. I heard you talking about that. You're not.
I'm gonna be telling that whole story later, but she's the kind of a woman that women like you ought to hate, because she looks for good men and then preys upon them, and as opposed to living up to her potential. She's a genius. She's a member of Mensa. Instead of living up to the potential that she could have, she would rather have been a sponge and a leech and be mean to nice people like me. And so, but nevertheless, I looked good for a while there. I looked good standing next to her in public because she was so tall and in heels, and people thought that I was a drug dealer or something, or rich, something. It's like, what's going on over there? Back in the early days of radio. But yeah, whatever. Life goes on. I still have my daughters, and I want the world to be a better place for all of us. And studies have shown, and we talked about this before, that when one is developing nations around the world and going into places that have a lot of problem with regards to more people than they can feed, not enough food, not enough water, not enough health care, not enough of the things that the people need, that the one change that has the most positive side effects of all of it, if they only change one thing, if the people from the outside only change one thing, it is to give reproductive power to those women. Give the women in those places the power to choose for themselves how many children they want to have. Which, by the way, as a man, and there are lots of posts and bumper stickers like this, that if men could get pregnant, abortions wouldn't just be legal, they'd be free. You're damn straight. Because
be at the 7-Eleven and Starbucks.
Exactly, there would be drive-through abortion clinics. Because let me share the attitude, and women may not, maybe some women have this attitude, and maybe they're aware that the men have this attitude. So let me share what it is like to be a man with regards to what's going on inside my body. It's none of your fucking business. Get out of here with it. And if you told these people, these Rush Limbaughs and all these people, if you suggested to them that if something is going on inside their body, that they have to share that information with someone else, and someone else has the ability to make a decision about what to do with the invent that is happening inside their body. There isn't a man on this planet that would tell you anything other than go fuck yourself. What's going on inside my body is between me and my doctor and my God, and how dare you even venture an opinion about it? That's the attitude that we have as men, and how can you possibly deny that same right to a woman just because, well, it's different? Yeah, the difference is it can never happen to you. That's the difference, because if it could, you'd say, it's my body. If I don't want something growing inside of it, I'm not going to let it. That's
well,
exactly
but you also have the women who are, insisting that other women shouldn't be able to do it. And, this is the way I look at it, especially if you're taking it from a religious perspective. Clearly in the First Amendment, we have the idea that we should not inject religion into politics. So the fact that, and that's in the Constitution.
Yes.
And, so it's like, okay, we're not supposed to do that. And if you are, let's say you're a Christian, and let's say you don't believe in abortion.
Don't have one.
Country that you live in, or you don't believe people should have choice, I should say, because nobody likes abortion. Nobody is pro-abortion. But I mean, you believe that somebody should be able to have that choice. So you're a Christian, and you live in a country that's free, and maybe the law says a woman can choose to terminate her pregnancy. So I know it really gets you, and you really don't believe in it. So follow your religious law.
Right.
And don't have one. And don't worry about what other people are doing. And, and it's you can go follow your own religious law.
Right.
The law of the land in the United States is that it is legal.
Right.
And, and when it comes down to, because I've often thought, especially with this whole debate on 20 weeks and 24 weeks, should it be banned? And, and I thought, how do I feel about that? Because, by that time, they are looking like actual babies. The fetus is probably, fingers and legs and all that. How do I feel about it? And what I ultimately decided was, it is the woman's decision, period. It is not, as long as it is in her body. Once it's out of her body, it's a different story. But as long as
that's when they stop caring. That's when the same people. That's when they stop caring. Oh, it's like the air touched its skin. We don't care about it anymore. Right? Yeah, exactly.
If it starves to death, it's because you
are
a
before they even wipe the blood and mucus off of it. They stop caring. They stop caring as soon as the head pokes out.
Yeah, and it's like, but you can't reason with somebody who is just going to blindly point their finger and call you, because I've been called every name in the book. Baby killing whore is my own personal favorite, but I've been called every name, and it's like, we just have
I'm gonna call you that during sex, okay? That's a little hot. Baby killing whore.
We just have to, as people who have, because there's plenty of Republicans out there who believe in choice. There are plenty of Republicans out there who have had abortions, even if they don't admit it. And there's plenty of Christians who have had abortions.
Is that
so
Coulter
what
one
we
of them?
need to do is vote.
She would have to have sex with a man first.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? For all the people who have their panties in a bunch about a black president, you don't have to worry, because this is his last term. So, vote progressive. Although it's probably going to be Hillary, and I can only imagine that. I love Hillary, and I'll take her any day of the week. I know that some people have problems with her. I have issues with Hillary, as I would have with any.
Me too, but they're mostly personal. They're just like, I think that she could go to some charm school and get rid of most of the problems that I have.
She's for fracking, and I don't like fracking.
Oh, frack her! I can't believe that. They're all sellouts, Kim. What are we gonna do? They're all on the dole. They all take dirty money. They all owe something. And speaking of, because I was, big into Obama, and then this NSA thing came out, and then he just signed this anti-protest bill. So what? So he's bought off too, I guess. Well,
they all are. I think they all are. And I can't. My mom is like this screaming liberal like I am, and we often discuss, what we think might be happening, and perhaps some people would think we were deserving of tinfoil hats, because I like to go to the conspiracy theories, and I like to talk about them. It doesn't necessarily even mean I believe in them, but I like to, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We can guess, but we don't know.
Speaking of, this is not necessarily a conspiracy theory, but would you believe that a Republican, a liberal, and a Democrat and a Republican
all walked into a bar,
sit down, have dinner before whatever congressional meeting they're having, and they'll discuss it. They'll play it out. Well, I feel like talking about this, or they might have completely different views. But once the lights and cameras come on, and I have to be the state representative that I've built myself up to be, I mean, would you believe that they're all in cahoots? It doesn't matter what role or side of the coin they're on. They're all.
Yeah, I have absolutely. The way I look at it is it could be anything.
Right.
Because, I mean, politicians are in it for
Failed
themselves.
actors.
Yes.
It seems
But
like.
it's really,
very much
it's all our fault.
And evangelists.
Yeah, it is.
It's all our fault because, I have heard all these people and argued with all these people about the idea that voting doesn't matter. And, there's a lot of arguments, but here's the best one that I've ever heard, although there are still people who wouldn't care. But the best reason that I hear for voting is, what if you woke up tomorrow and that right were gone? How would you feel then? Even if you choose not to participate on it. So stop bitching and complaining. Get your ass to the polls, because when you look at the numbers of people who voted, there was a huge segment of the population who did not vote last time around, and it was less than the first election of Obama. And I mean, I would still vote for Obama again, but I'm not in love with him. I see things that the fracking thing I think bothers me a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't understand, and I can only think that he's bought by big money too, or silenced by big money, or whatever it is.
It's the system. You don't know. Nobody. Until we change that part of the system, campaign contributions. I don't understand how that can exist at all. What is that? If not legal graft, campaign contributions. How do you expect to collect money from someone and they're not owed a favor?
Right. Their influence is not applied.
So
we got to get rid of that. We got to get rid of that.
We have to separate money from power. It can be done. All of the systems that we operate under are artificial. They're not. It's a long time from the cave. I mean, that was the original system. Was the same family structure as every other primate species, and then we invented language, and we came up with all these other systems, other political systems. But it all started with despotism. So if we can create artificial systems, we can create an artificial system where the people who we put in a position to affect our lives cannot ever be wealthy. They can, and why? Because the wealthy, the super rich, are the tiniest of all minorities. You can't have a system where you advocate. Just imagine the smallest majority in America, short Cubans. Let's just say the only people that can ever be in power are short Cubans. Well, we have a system like where it's even a tinier minority. The rich people are able to relate to our lives the least. Whatever you are in America, if you're a billionaire, you're a member of the tiniest minority, and specifically, you are a member of a minority that cannot relate to the masses, cannot relate to 80+% of the population. You don't have to work. You don't have to worry about your meals. You don't have to worry about your health.
Mitt Romney.
Absolutely.
Exactly. How can you say that we have a representative form of government, but no one who is from our income level has any chance of becoming the president or God for president, senator, congressman, anything like that? They're all rich in one way or another, and if they're not, if they didn't start out rich, they're rich now, and they're getting rich by their office.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not against people in power accumulating wealth. It's how they accumulate their wealth.
Well, we already have laws about what you can spend your money on. All right, we already you can't just spend your money on everything. You can't hire someone to beat someone up. You can't. We have antitrust laws. We have laws against monopoly. It isn't a free for all. So all we have to do is add one more thing to the list of what you can't buy with your money. Power. That has to be separated. Money and power have to be separate. So what we'll have, it's supposed to be civil service, but civil service cannot ever be a path to wealth. And we've got a revolving door between big business and politics, and that has to be shut.
Well, there will always be the behind the scenes deals with, you support me, I'll support you. I don't think we would ever really be able to get away with that, because you've got, let's say, Senator B from California, and, somebody approaches him at a dinner, which is not a public situation, and says, hey, exactly. I will help you if you help me. So that will always be there, but that's why voters need to be present. And voters need to be paying attention, and it's not easy. People don't want to hear it. It's very difficult to get people motivated.
It's
but
disheartening.
As we're seeing, it's happening more and more, because the only way people become participants in democracy and the election and all that is when they are uncomfortable. Because when they are comfortable, they take everything for granted, and I'm lumping myself into this.
Me too. I don't want to get up.
We all are.
I'm comfy.
Yeah, I mean, when you're comfortable, you don't. It's just it's human nature.
Well, we got to.
It's getting to the point now where we have to say, okay, time to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, Kimberly, the perfect bookmark event was the Obama thing. I mean, a lot of people would quickly say it was a black thing, but that's not what I saw at the celebration after he was elected the first time. And that basically,
I was happy.
I mean, we all were happy because
the whole world, the planet was rejoicing.
Exactly, and it was one of those universal moments where you felt like, yeah, same here, because you saw something that looked like a form of the old guard or an oppressive nature represented in John McCain, and then later with Mitt Romney. You had everybody that had that overall feeling like, oh my God, if this person gets it, we're screwed.
Right.
So it was an overall thing of that was that wake up moment where everybody said, you know what, I'm hitting the polls.
And you know what, this is if there's any Republicans listening, this is going to piss them off so much, but I truly, honestly believe that Barack Obama was able to become the president of the United States because of George Bush. I think George.
Oh yeah.
We found out now it's just a continuation of the same old regime.
The Democrats could have ran a bobblehead doll after George Bush, and he would have gotten elected.
Exactly. That's all that was. I mean, you had the sham of the Gore Bush election, and that kind of that was just sitting there.
Beginning of the
he was just the worst. Bush was the worst. He was evil. He was doing evil in broad daylight.
It was exactly that. Like you had the sham of an election done, and the whole nation sat there and saw it happen, and there was nothing you can do about it. So
they didn't know. I mean, my mother. I remember when this was all happening. My mom predicted a lot of what actually happened as a result of a Bush presidency, but she's always been more into politics than me, except for now, because now I've just thrown myself in. But none of us knew really what was to come, and we've gone along in America really comfortable for so many decades.
Right.
And so you just take things for granted, and you think, oh, that's not going to happen. That'll never happen. It's like I keep hearing people now say, oh, Roe v. Wade will never be overturned. Never say never.
Yeah, exactly.
You just never know, and you have to prepare for the idea that there. And I do have people email me all the time. I've got a lot of Facebook friends, and so I get a lot of emails. Which, by the way, I just want to say to everybody who's emailing me, I can't respond to everybody because Facebook puts up these crazy warnings, and sometimes I can respond and sometimes I can't. But I do read the emails. But I received an email, a very disturbing email from somebody about something that's happening right now with the push against Roe v. Wade. And it has to do with I think it's the pain, the fetal pain thing. And, right now we have a very conservative Supreme Court. And that's another reason to vote. Because when you vote for the president elects the Supreme Court justices, and the Senate votes on them. So, you have to show up to the midterms, and you have to vote for your senators there, because those are the people that are going to go into the Supreme Court. So you have to make sure you put in people, who you think are going to vote in these people who have a direct impact to your life. Direct. Mm-hmm. Because if they decide to overturn Roe v. Wade, that directly impacts you. Even if you're a woman who's never going to get pregnant, it impacts you.
Sure
because it's going to have to do with, the people who are having children and what we're going to have to pay for as a result because of the unwanted pregnancies. So it's just so important. That's like some of the things that I'm touching on in my book, because people don't really put all of that together. And I didn't. I didn't pay attention. I grew up in the 80s when we had, I was a teenager in the 80s when everything looked great from a teenager's perspective. It was all, the Reagan years. If you weren't following politics and you were just a dumb kid like me, everything looked great. People had money.
He
had
looked good up there.
colored-
I'd admit, when Reagan strode up to the podium, he looked really good doing that.
Yeah, and
That's
I mean,
about
there
it.
were people who were paying attention and knew better. But when you were a young person and you weren't political,
Right. No.
everything just looked really good.
Yep.
And it was all like more women putting on tennis shoes and and going to work and CEOs, and it
Shoulder
was like,
pad
oh, we're
suits.
equal. Yeah. And so, but it's like he was actually the start of what's happening now.
Definitely.
And well, not the start, but
Right.
he was definitely putting
This time
it in
around,
motion.
sure.
Yeah. So, and I really want young women. I mean, it's like I want young women to
Me too. I want young women. Oh, I'm sorry, I
to
interrupted you.
wake up and pay attention, because it's their rights so specifically. I mean, I'm 45 years old, so a lot of the things that I'm fighting for aren't even having anything to do with me anymore. I'm not going to take the birth control pill ever again in my life. I've taken it, but I will fight for all the young women who, and people argue all the time and say, oh, birth control is not even an issue. What the hell are you talking about? Well, it is an issue on a couple of
Totally
levels.
is.
Number one, you have pharmacists, and I don't remember all the states, but there's a large number of states where you can be a woman, you go to the doctor says, here's your prescription for birth control, and you take it into a pharmacist, and the pharmacist is like, well, I don't really believe in birth control,
Yeah.
so no, I'm not going to give it to you. And they're well within their legal right to do this.
Yeah, that's awful.
And they don't have to refer you to another pharmacist that will. And and then there's also the issue of birth control where now I'm losing my thoughts because I get all hyped up.
It's okay.
And I get crazy, and then I lose
I
my
like it
thoughts.
when you get all angered up.
But women don't understand that. It's like birth control isn't something that you can take for granted. It should just be available. Oh, and workplace, that's what it is, because Hobby Lobby successfully won their desire, I guess, because I think it's been put on hold for a year from Obama. But it's like if they don't want to provide, Hobby Lobby doesn't want a third party to provide birth control for their employers or employees. So you're a woman, you work at Hobby Lobby, and Hobby Lobby's telling their insurance carrier or whatever, who they're providing for their employees, that they can't offer birth control.
So you want to make a Republican's head explode? Say,
Yes.
what do you think about free birth control, but just for black people?
What?
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to do
Just
that.
watch
I'm
them
going to say
seize
that
up.
on
The
Twitter.
smoke will start coming out of their ears or something. I don't believe in abortion. How about just make it legal for black people? Only black people can have abortion. And watch the smoke. Watch the smoke. Whoa,
That's like
whoa.
Tavis Smiley just recently asked Bill O'Reilly, or said to Bill O'Reilly, that we should arm every black person. And, he's like, Bill O'Reilly's like, oh, well, that's a little extreme.
That's so funny.
It's like, oh, every white person should be armed, and you scream about the Second Amendment.
Hey.
But as soon as every black person being armed is mentioned, oh, that's extreme.
I don't want to get into a whole Second Amendment thing, but I grew up in a Montana town where everybody, including the fourth grade girls, all had weapons, and it was the most polite hat-tipping society ever, knowing that anybody could kill anybody at any given time. Everybody was very polite. Fender benders, accidents, whatever. Somebody spilled a drink on you. It's okay, man. Let me buy you another one. No, we're cool. Everything's cool. You cool, totally. I'll buy you another bit. No, we're totally cool. And we're cool. We're cool with each other, Kimmy. When are you going to come and visit Florida?
I don't know. I'm busy
I know. You're
bugging
busy.
politicians.
Well, we have politicians and issues here, too.
Lots
You
of
come
them.
here, we'll do like an Occupy together, and then we'll go get drunk and
Woohoo!
walk down the street. You can see the palatial new studios that I'm very proud of over here. We're moving on
Yay.
up. Because listen, if it weren't for internet radio and Facebook, and the Daily Show, we wouldn't have any idea what's going on in the world.
And Colbert
No,
Report.
really,
Yeah,
huh?
Colbert. Yeah, I mean that's it. Because I do try to do research for the show, and I put on CNN and MSNBC, and it's like, oh, and even MSNBC, which is supposed to be liberal, it's not. You know what it is? It's faux liberal. It's
Minutia.
pretend. It's like
Well, I will say, not in the case of Chris Hayes.
I like Chris
I really
Hayes.
like Chris Hayes. He seems to be tapped in to what's happening on the internet, because I'm on the internet all day long and I'm looking for stories and whatnot. So, I'm always seeing what's happening, and all the stories that they're not reporting on Lawrence O'Donnell or Rachel Maddow that you're seeing, just going down your Facebook feed. Chris will approach those, and he really takes the he and I, agree on a lot of things, and so he hits on a lot of those issues, and I'm very happy to see that. But yeah, I mean, it's all money. It's just basically all money. And that's what's so great about the internet is you can get, I like to call it the truth zone, except for that you have to fish through it. Because
You
there's
do.
a lot of crap out
It's
there.
the WWW stands for the Wicked Wild World. It's just out there. Everything is out there. It's mostly
The truth is
unfiltered,
out
and
there.
so it's up to you to sift through and filter it all yourself. Speaking of filtering, I gotta go to the bathroom. My kidneys have been working overtime since I had you on. So and now the bathroom
hear that.
the bathroom's all the way on the other side of the building now. I'm not in my apartment or my studio apartment anymore for this, but it's always a pleasure. We're going to make this a regular feature at some point, maybe once a month, and come up with some stuff and give you the attention that you deserve. And it's not just because
Well,
you're
let
hot.
me just add this before I go. If anybody wants to check out my stuff, you can visit ARC. It's ARK, arcstories.com. And there's lists of my books, and also just a tab that says Kimberly Johnson. That will direct you to my Twitter and Facebook pages and give you a sense of what I'm doing with the ERA. So it was great to be
Definitely
back.
check that out.
Thank you for being on the show, Kim.
Thank
Burley
you so much.
Johnson.
Take care.
Thank you very much, and we'll be back. SoFlowRadio.com.
Broadcasting from the heart of downtown Hollywood. This is SoFlowRadio.com.
Social media marketing. You know your business needs it, but you have no clue on how to do it. And who has the time?
Don't worry, you're not alone. Mouse Media is here to help.
Mouse Media has linked creativity, art, and technology to expand your web presence and increase traffic to your site. Visit them at mousemedia.us.
That's mousemedia.us.
Or follow Mouse Media on Twitter and on Facebook.
Mousemedia.us.
CBC5 is the executive liaison for all your building compliance needs. Serving South Florida from the Palm Beaches to Key West, CBC5 delivers 5-star service that brings...
what's this ABC, BDQ, whatever?
CBC5. It stands for Complete Building Compliance.
Oh, I ain't building nothing, so what can they do for me?
Well, they do more than plan review and permitting. They help the little guy cut through red tape.
I got duct tape holding together my carport.
Well, CBC5 can help. Let them deal with bureaucrats. They helped George Rodriguez solve a sewer lateral problem, and they saved him a ton of money and hassles.
By City Hall, who can do that?
CBC5 can do that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a commercial to finish. Contact Shoddy the Hottie at CBC5 786-255-3851 or log on to cbc5.net. That's cbc5.net.
Broadcast radio production, sound design, audio, talk shows, commercials, trailers, voiceovers, webcasting, engineering, music. Learn how for a lot less than $10,000. Send a text to 954-803-9717. That's 954-803-9717.
Don't miss By the Glass with Brett Hubbard, 6 to 7 every Thursday night on SoFlowRadio.com.
Most important online
See?
radio station.
It's easier than ever to listen to SoFlo. On the air and everywhere. On any computer, any mobile device, iPhone, iTouch, and anywhere you are, just hit SoFlowRadio.com. Tell your friends about South Florida's radio network, SoFlowRadio.com.
treated as dirt. The lower ground, color sound, bullshit is the worst. Digital animal freaking folks. Digital animal freaking folks. Digital animal freaking folks. Digital animal freaking folks. Shoot a lot of lip, get split like Gemini. Two hemispheres, two mind, one pan fry. My business, truncate nemesis. Not futures, free of skirmishes. Deep fucking, deep cup tournaments. Slow busting, thrusting, murderous. Nightlife, 40 back by 9. Finish up, exchange and ride. Put a lot in the crew tight, none of this is new to me. Focus on and play the part, super clock, change the scene. Like dreams, set for the Palpatine into the talent. The motherfucking money suckers, chop them in a salad. Ceiling with the pillow, watching the prophecy drop. Some are feeling that forgiveness, sleep with a sympathy off. Pray for etiquette law, but my shiverous pigs. You can't give up my wrist if you can't find it. Digital animal freaking folks. 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 Belly covered up, t-shirt, red tiger. Drool down the lip, stripe, saber tooth slimer. Triple stick, tip scale, dirty dogma. Puppy love, rock, shaka, twa, menage. Ninja, finish him, freak. Naughty fucking freaks and busting techniques. East, west, battle best, turn your bones to ashes. Sit under the kin with the symbol on the package. Go to fascination larger than it ever was. Walls kicked over, Berlin, snap cameras. Gallagher, BDG, sledgehammer family. Babble with insanity, granted me the amnesty. I learned my lesson, messing up my life is not the way to wreck it. Check the answer to the air, replace the bar on your face piece. Baby, your basics plus me. It's the combination known to defeat the beast and escape. Keep on. Digital animal freaking folks. 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 Digital animal freaking folks.
216 SoFloRadio.com. George Rodriguez, Jack Frost, Blackjack, Larrnell Cross, ladies and gentlemen, and Randy. I can hear walking back into the room right now. Randy. I don't have any applause sound effects, and also your mic isn't on, but I can try to find some applause for you over here. I'm gonna get one of those. We had a 360 Systems instant replay once upon a time, and I had all that stuff on it. But how about if I just do this?
I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
Not loud enough.
Okay.
There we go. That's not your fault though. That's our producers, but that's okay
Yes,
because
that's my fault.
It's all training day until whenever. It's like anything else, like riding a bike or sex. You can learn the mechanics of it really quickly, and then it takes a lifetime to refine.
Riding a bike and sex, huh?
Or anything else that. You can just keep getting better at it until you die. Oh. Okay, there's no such thing as so good you're never going to get better anymore. I think he's still a little bit low there. Listen and watch the levels. That's producer job. It's not good enough. It's not good enough if it sounds good. You got audio and a visual thing.
Right,
indicators over there. Because I don't know what your big plan is when you're interning over here, Larrnell. If you're learning how to be a talk show producer as well as a talk show host, but I believe, and when I say things like that, that's just me being nice. That's just me, being euphemism because I'm right, or I wouldn't be saying it. That's like Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends. And no, everybody believes their own bullshit. You see, everybody believes that what they say is what is
gospel.
true, or they would have said something else instead. Yeah. So, in order to be a good or the best talk show host that you can be, you should know how to be a good producer. Otherwise, how do you know if your producer is doing the right thing or not? So you should certainly spend an amount of time as a producer if you hope to be a talk show host. Sometimes you're a really good talk show host and you got a really good producer, and then your producer dies. And so you got to get a new producer. How do you know? How can you explain to your new producer what his job is to do and what you expect your producer to do if you don't yourself know what that producer's job is? You see, so.
Yes, but what if the talk show host dies and you still have the producer?
If the talk show host dies and you still have the producer gets a new talk show host, or the producer becomes a talk show host. Or a little of both, because personally, I like both of the things. Like, it's a little bit difficult for me to not be in control, because when we started this whole new operation, I was the host and also kind of my own producer. I had somebody else play the commercials. That's all I needed somebody else to do, and also to talk. And eventually, when we all get up to cruising altitude over here, I'll go back to taking what I consider to be my seat, working the controls and everything, because I like to work the controls.
So, in other words, when you were working with Neil Rogers, you were waiting for him to die, right?
Is that what you got from that?
Larrnell is not loud enough.
Yes.
Larrnell is at the max.
No, he's not.
Hello? Yeah. I'm here. Yes.
That's not his mic.
Oh, that's my mic's number 4.
There you go. Now we can.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So
no, I wasn't waiting for him to die. I loved my job. That was a good line. I'm going to give Larrnell a point for comedy for that. That's your first one. That's good. That shows hope for the future. No, because I had a great gig as Neil's producer. It was a lot of good and bad, but I had it very easy for my personality. Like, I had a job that not a lot of people could do, because not everyone got Neil's humor, were up to Neil's standards, were up to his speed, and also didn't know his kind of comedy, which was very, very old school, kind of vaudevillian but spontaneous, where it depended a lot of setup and delivery. Like in vaudeville and in two-person comedy routines, one person sets up the other person to deliver a punchline. And Neil never really worked with anyone who would set him up or who understood when they were being set up for a comedy line. Like, for example, like in vaudeville, who was that lady I saw you with last night? That was no lady, that was my wife. You know, it's like that. Neil and I told this to Randi once. Neil and I were talking. This is just my favorite example. Neil and I were talking about rest stops, and he was talking about Stookies and how he hated the Stookies. But the peanut brittle is very good, and we both had experiences at Stookies. And Neil was great at getting a setup. You could set him up from a mile away, and he would know that was a setup. So I said, he was talking about the peanut brittle. You ever have their peanut brittle? And I said, yeah, it's pretty good. But did you ever have a nut roll? And he said, yeah, but it didn't get far. See, setup, delivery.
Yes.
So I found that easy and fun, but other people couldn't. What was easy about the Neil Rogers producer job is that I didn't have to book guests or wipe his ass or babysit. Like, we each had our own room. He had a full control board in his room. I had one in my room. He did everything in his room. I did everything in my room. I didn't have to go in there and do things for him. I would put things on carts and give them to him, but then during the course of the show, I didn't have to go in there. I didn't even have to look in that general direction. I just knew that he would be hitting all of the audio posts and all of the cues and everything. So for someone like me, it was a very fun and easy job. And the hard part of a talk show is the host's job, as you'll find out that spending a week gathering material and then figuring out what it is that you want to talk about during the show, and then keeping your mind on sounding all glib and funny and everything is a really hard, attention-demanding job. So, however difficult your job will be as a producer, it's not going to be as difficult as the host's job, assuming that you have a host that's worth his salt. And now Django.
What?
Yeah, that's called a segue.
Yeah. Hard segue.
That was a comedy segue. Jack gave me some homework. I'm halfway through Head of State, which I guess was very prescient, as I would say, a little ahead of its time kind of movie. Don't ruin it for me. So we're just gonna
I'm not gonna say
skip, because there was some comedy. I really liked some of the cutaway comedy in that, and I'm a big Chris Rock fan. But I don't know, did you see Django?
I did see Django.
Okay, well, I just saw it for the first time earlier this week, and let me preface it, and the audience already knows that Quentin Tarantino and I have issues with each other.
I used to be a huge Quentin Tarantino fan.
Me too. I used to be, and then little by little, I became an unfan, like the opposite, where I hate him now.
You don't like the violence?
No. Well, first of all, and I did write that down. Not the way that he does it. I don't care about violence. I mean, I grew up watching those ridiculous Japanese movies where the blood splatters everywhere that he He copies the spaghetti western. He copies those, like the big pregnant pause that they would do with spaghetti westerns. He just took it to a whole ridiculous level. And those old samurai movies where the blood splatters and everything, he copies those too. And that isn't it. See, Quentin used to be the director that delivers, the movie watcher's director that delivers to the audience what the audience wants to have. And it started out that way. But then he started getting really full of himself and having these long-ass monologues or these long-ass scenes where everything was just took so long. And I remember Pulp Fiction was like, man, I loved half of that movie and hated half of that movie because it was so...
drug out.
Just some of the scenes, like the taxi cab scene. You're
With
the
Bruce
fighter.
Willis,
You're the fighter with Bruce Willis in it. Oh, you're the fighter. Yes. I heard you on the radio. Yes. That you killed a man. Yes.
The diner scene.
Yeah. The diner scene. Just
I
on and
enjoyed
on
those.
and on.
I liked
I liked like the conversation between him and Uma Thurman and that whole dance thing and everything like that. Just really nice little slices of life stuff. But I hated the diner scene, and I hated the dead end storage scene, and just like
what about the watch? What about the watch that was shoved up?
That monologue, I love Christopher Walken first of all, and that whole that monologue, that little presentation there was hysterical. See, those are the things. Those are the things that I like about Quentin. There's little gems like that.
Right.
But then you got movies like. What is it, Reservoir Dogs, where like Tim Roth, who I hate, is just going on and on about the stupid bathroom story, just going on and on and on. I'm like, you just know how to pad a movie, don't you, Quentin? No, I
have not seen that one.
Oh, yeah, you're not missing anything.
It was on the other night, and I fell asleep.
You did the right thing.
Give it a pass. Exactly.
It's one of those movies that they hail it as one of his. They don't even hail it as one of his best movies. It was his first or second movie.
And then the double feature where you had Death Proof, which was his movie, and Planet Terror, which was Robert Rodriguez. The Robert Rodriguez movie was perfection. Like just like
it was so much
and then the Death Proof movie was an hour of 40 minutes of extreme boredom, and then all of a sudden 15 minutes of action at the end where we just got to hear the Robert Frost poem over and over and over again. He likes to do scenes where you hear the same thing over and over again. But meanwhile, back to
just
Django.
in case you didn't hear it.
Play it again. It was just awful stuff like that. But meanwhile, so back to Django, and the reason that I avoided watching it all this time because it's Quentin. You just say Quentin's name on there, and I'm like, I want to hit him with a baseball bat. He's wasted so much of my time. Kill Bill could have been one decent movie. One decent movie. Take Michael Madsen out. That's another person. I hate Michael Madsen. I hate the sight of his face, the sound of his voice. I hate him. I hate him. I wish he was dead. And I love Uma Thurman.
See, that's why I watch.
I love her.
Kill Bill, Volume 1, Volume 2.
But I hate
Amazing.
Michael Madsen.
Uma was good, and actually the funny thing is, like, I saw Volume 2 first.
Oh,
saw Volume 1.
What are you doing?
You did the wrong.
No. Because here's the thing. Because here's the thing. Like,
that's insanity.
No, when it was out in theaters, it was just like I was trying to say, like, I usually don't watch sequels before I see the first one. I don't do that. But then they said, like, oh, why don't you go see it? It's like, and I saw it. But really, it's just. Can you still hear me?
No, you turned it down too low. You got to ride those pots because you're getting all excited, Larrnell, which is good. I like when you get all excited. It's the producer's job to ride these pots.
Oh yeah, this is what an intern does. I get taught. So
right.
That's
everybody here is an intern today.
We're here to learn,
except for me.
Yes.
With the pro.
Yes.
Back to Django, because here's my review. So I liked a lot of it. Now we're too low. When you see the yellow, then back up, and then there we go. Now we sound good. So I liked the concept. I liked the story. I liked everything. But first of all, and this is the thing that everybody was talking about, is the N word. We're gonna look it up. What was it, like 5,752 mentions of the N word on there? And I thought, and I was braced for it. Why are you hitting me? Oh, we got a phone call. They can go away.
Yeah, they went away.
Sorry, do a thingy over here. I'm gonna type in how many times.
I'd say at least over 100.
But here's the thing with Django. I did enjoy the movie, but I'm beginning to question: did I like it so much because my expectations were so low from Inglourious Bastards?
108 times? I don't believe that. I have way more than that.
I told you.
I hated Inglourious Basterds.
Inglourious Bastards, I thought that was the end. I thought Quentin Tarantino, I'm so sorry.
What was
We
that
had to break
stupid?
up.
What was that stupid scene that went on for like half the whole movie? I'm like, oh my god, I needed an oxygen mask. But anyway, because here's the thing, because in a movie, and I had the same problem with the TV series Deadwood, where they were saying motherfucker, cocksucker, and 5 times per sentence. The little kids, the lady that taught the Sunday school, the preacher, everything. Fuck. No, like, listen here, I didn't live in the Old West, all right, and neither did the people that made this movie. But I will bet you $1 billion, I got a gajillion right here, that they didn't say the word like that and as often as that. Oh my God, what are you trying to do with that? When you make a period piece, you're supposed to, you want to help the audience suspend their disbelief. You're trying to get the audience to feel like they're in that time,
right,
and appreciate that time. That's the whole illusion that you're trying to get out there. My favorite movie for that purpose, and again, I don't know if they talk this way. I would have to go and read some more history books on the Old West, but Outlaw Josie Wales. Clint Eastwood, who turns out to be a racist, but whatever, we'll get to that later. Outlaw Josie Wales, where they used, they must have done a lot of research about the colloquial language of the time, because you felt like that's how the people were talking back there. You know, fact. The thing with Django and the N-word, there were times, and after a while it's like, okay, yeah, I can see what people are talking about. There were times when they should have been using the word slave because they were talking about slaves. And there are times where they should have been talking about, and by the way, at no point, and I don't remember this, at no point in the movie did anybody, including Schultz, Dr. Schultz, who was the good guy, the bounty hunter dentist, who was we all loved his character, right? He was such a really nice guy, and and he told that story about the guy that wrote, what was it?
The story about what was the German name? Kerry Washington's.
Yeah, I don't know, but it turned out to be black.
Broomhilda. Yeah, the story about Broomhilda.
So anyway, obviously he was not a bigot. He was an enlightened person for his time. At no point did I hear anybody use the word Negro, which was the proper word at the time. Not once in the movie. And when they were talking about, fighting ends, and ends fighting, it's like, look, the word that they should have used right then and there is slaves. They're talking about their slaves. They're talking about slaves. They should have said slaves, but no. Once they said black in the movie or something like that, and then for the rest of the movie, the only time that a slave or a person of color was referred to, it was by everybody, including Dr. Schultz.
So you get the impression that this was just Tarantino's way to
not just. I believe that Quentin has a variety of issues. I think that he has talent and he has the ability to make good movies, but it happens to musicians, it happens to all artists where they achieve a level of success and then their ego takes over, George Lucas. Their ego takes over and you can't say anything to them, and they need someone, maybe a friend, a trusted individual, to be following them around with like a blackjack, those leather bound. They take the lead sinkers and, the muggers would hit you over the head with them. Somebody with a blackjack or like a wet rag or something to just slap you back into your senses when you start doing something all overblown like that. I think that Quentin Tarantino is a racist sack of crap who really, really likes that word. It is not a coincidence that word comes up as often and as frequently as it does in his movies.
Right.
I have creative license. I have a vehicle that allows me to say fuck as much as I want. I don't say I love the word fuck. I like the way that it fits into almost any situation, and I like what meant originally, and whatever.
But you gotta tastefully use it.
I don't say the F word as much as Quentin says the N word in his movies. You cannot tell me he loves it, and he concocts.
It's the only time
he concocts excuses
so he can say it,
so that he can say it, and so that the actors can say it. He loves the sound of it, and personally, I don't. And by the end of the movie, it was very difficult for me to think, like, man, it's like I have black friends, and like my I was having to retrain myself to call them like black friends. It's like, well, yeah. Then they should have said in polite company, and because there were polite conversations going on. They go, well, the Negro and this and that, and thank goodness that in Spanish-speaking countries, we never had the problem because negro means black. And
right.
Like, that's it. That's it. Blanco, negro, mulatto. Black, white, in between. We're done. That's the way it was. That's the way it is. Nobody has a problem with that. You ask us as a Spanish-speaking black person what they are. Negro. Soy un negro.
This would have been a perfect hot topic subject when the movie came out.
Yeah,
because there was a lot of opposition towards it. Spike Lee didn't like it, but
But Spike Lee didn't see it.
He didn't see it, but he didn't like.
He didn't see it.
He didn't see it. He protested or boycotted, I should say.
Right.
From watching it.
I don't blame him.
But yeah, I mean, the thing about this is that even when you hear a black or a white person, hold it in high regard, you really have to think about it. All right, from a white person's perspective, you kind of give them that fish out like you did like Django. Really?
You saw She's Gotta Have It, which was my first Spike Lee movie.
Right.
Did you
Yes,
see that? Because I thought, okay, I really liked that movie, and I really liked him because of it. I thought it was a very brave film to make, tackling the issues between, and then was it School Days or what?
School Days, right?
School Days also
against dark skin and light skin.
A really good movie. By the way, the guy that played the light skinned black frat leader guy in there,
Giancarlo.
Yes, he's the guy that plays Gus Fring in Breaking Bad. That's that same actor. In case you didn't notice, so I was a fan of his for a long time. Breaking Bad.
But the point I was trying to make here about the blacks, like they hold the movie. Yeah, you can call me Django. That's my name. But if you really think about the movie had nothing to do with Django. Django. Let me put it this way. Django was not the central figure. He was a tag-along. It was really about Schultz, King Schultz.
It was, right. Well, see, here's the thing, because people sitting and we're going to ruin the movie. Has everybody seen the movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ruining the movie
if
for
you
anybody?
haven't seen it at this point.
I don't. Besides
Spoiler
the use of
alert.
the use of the N-word, which is just, I have to address that because for a while there, that's all anybody was talking about.
Right.
Let's talk about it as a movie. And you're right. That'd be like calling a movie Friday, but it's really about Robinson Crusoe.
Yeah.
I really think that if the movie's going to be called Django, and they were doing a fine job, and Schultz dies at some point, and then the movie continues without him, I didn't think that was a very good idea. That because. And this is just movie making. This is George movie making 101. And I had the same problem with Full Metal Jacket. You don't get the audience to appreciate a character and then kill them off halfway through the movie. Right. You're like, this is what I was enjoying. What I was enjoying was not so much his character, but the friendship between those two.
Right.
And I figured that at some point that the guy was going to die, but they didn't have to let him die stupid. He died stupid.
Very stupid.
After he was such a badass in the entire movie, for him to die as stupid as he died was very disappointing. And I really hate inconsistencies in movies.
Yeah.
For example, don't establish a convention and then violate it right away. If you're constantly reminding the audience that black men don't ride horses, then why does Django? Because I ride horses. It's been a while, but one doesn't just jump up on a horse and know what to do. It was so shocking because they gotta remind you constantly throughout the movie. Every time, everybody when they see Django on a horse, they freak the fuck out. Black, white, children, it doesn't matter. God was freaked out. Oh my god, black man can't ride horses. Except they were saying the N-word. Don't have him just jump up on a horse like he's lived his whole life on one.
Right.
There should be a little bit of character development there where he
learn?
teaches Django to ride, or you establish the fact. You know what I thought would have been a really good idea, since they were representing Django as a free man all the way through the movie, is not all black people were slaves in the South, and there have been movies and stories. There were black people raised in England. He could have been one of those guys. He could have been a black person raised in Germany. He could have been Schultz. Could have brought his German friend from Germany with him. Black man raised in Germany. Could have been a black man from any of the African cities.
Could have been a Moor from Morocco.
And could have been a Moor.
Yeah.
Like it could have been from one of the African cities. Could have been college educated from one of the cities in Africa, because that was going on.
But you're not having an educated portrayal. You're having somebody that's piling bullshit on top of bullshit on top of bullshit.
I know that.
Sensationalism.
So because I think that would have been a very interesting movie. Is like this. One of these things is not like the other. Because here's a black man that doesn't have the slave attitude. He does not feel the need to bow, kowtow, or to take any shit from anyone, because he comes from a place where equality is more or less not such a rare thing. Because there were places like that in the world.
Because really, I seen this movie in theaters, and it's just I felt like it was more of more of a sense of entertainment, and to me it was more of how people were thinking in their minds that, you know what, maybe it's time for like somebody that's in slavery to get back at the slave owners, and we gotta think in our minds too. It's like, when did you want to see like when you see Roots, and when you see the black people just getting like,
I saw Roots first run on TV. That's how old I am.
Yeah, yeah. But seeing that,
You didn't get beat up, did you? the day after?
What? No, man.
I heard a lot of stories about that. Like people were angry.
I'm sure like black people watching Django in the back of their minds had to feel like, you know what, like maybe it's time to see like, you know, some slave get back at a slave owner. Because seeing that scene when Jamie Foxx
But all
like
of those people are dead. All of those.
Right.
But when we see it, like, of course it's historical. But again, Django was not meant to be historical. It was meant to be
Yeah, it was meant to be entertaining.
You know,
Right.
and that's
Sure.
what.
Nevertheless,
Quentin Tarantino got back at the Nazis, and now he's getting back at the slave owners.
Yeah.
Thank you, Quentin.
I don't actually
I don't see that.
Come on now, because
You
come on.
didn't see that?
When you watch Schindler's List, wouldn't you wanted to see like the Jews actually go back and actually kill one of the Nazis for actually even?
Well, that's a different movie because there were instances of that. So back to my my long-winded Django review. So the character establishment, same thing with shooting a gun. Like if if he wasn't raised, or if he didn't at least have a little montage there where Schultz is teaching him to ride a horse and shoot a gun, then why is he all right? The kid's a natural, but that was like later on. Again, shooting a gun requires a couple of lessons before you're slick at it or good at it. And by the way, because I love and now I can't think of his name. I was going to call him Waylon Jennings. Django, the actor.
Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx. Goddamn, horrible singer, good actor.
Wait.
And bad gun technique. Look at all the westerns that you've ever seen and how good people are shooting. He pulls a gun like this. He shoots it from his tit. He goes. Like
wait.
No.
Hold on. You said Jamie Foxx was a good actor.
Yeah, I like his acting. I like Jamie Foxx's acting,
he's
but I
talented.
don't like his singing.
You can't deny that the man is talented.
He did his thing in Ray, and that's about it.
I thought Ray was great.
I've been watching him since he was in Living Color.
Me too.
I'll give him that.
Talented.
He's definitely talented, and he has range in regards to doing different things. But is he a great actor? Did he really?
What do you think about his character Wanda? Yeah.
He was very funny.
Very, very funny.
Yeah, he was like an ugly woman in that, but he was funny though. So
I think that was the joke.
Yeah, that's exactly the joke. But the point is that he covers all of those things very well. But as far as like saying that he's a great actor, the only time that he really did that, and I felt like he did some type of telepathic thing with Ray, where he literally, he tapped into who that character is. I mean, who Ray Charles was. But as far as Django, I mean. I don't know.
Where the hell did he get those sunglasses?
Django?
Yeah. By the way,
he got to pick his outfit.
He got to pick his outfit. By the way, I thought that was hilarious. The first that blew up, I was like, I want that outfit. There's two things from the movies that you saw. I want Django's original outfit first of all, and I want to know where Bernie Mac buys his clothes for a head of state. It's like you know where that's from. Can you take me to wherever Bernie Mac shops? Because damn,
somewhere in Chicago. Yeah.
I want to look like that with all the matching orange right down to the
market
with the suitcases and all that.
I'm gonna pop some tags. Only got $20 in my pocket.
And you
Anyway,
notice
that's a white guy.
And you notice in Django also too that the woman got beat up the most, type of.
So, but the sunglasses. Listen, it's the Wild West. It's hot. There's sun. Are you telling me that he found the only pair of sunglasses because he was running around with rich people all the time? Yeah. There are rich people everywhere. I don't want to walk outside without sunglasses. On a cloudy day I wear sunglasses. If there were sunglasses running around, if there were sunglasses available at the sunglass store, why was he the only character with those really cool sunglasses? And where can I find them? Yeah. Those really cool sunglasses, because he looked awesome. The gunfighter outfit that he came out with, they looked great, very crisp.
You mean Calvin's wardrobe at the end?
Yeah. But then the other problem that I had was with Samuel L. Jackson's inconsistent character. First of all, once again, Quentin, man, nobody can make a point like Quentin Tarantino. If you can make a point in 3 words, he can make it in 3 hours. Yeah. It was over and over and over again. When Samuel L. Jackson,
they're caricatures. They're like cartoon characters.
But dude, I got somewhere to be. This movie doesn't need to be this long.
2 hours.
He's saying the same thing over and over again. The same line over. Samuel L. Jackson comes out and he's pitching a fit because N on a horse. How many times? Just shut the fuck up. If he was one of my slaves, I'm sorry. If he was one of my slaves, like the second time that he said N on a horse, was like asked and answered, motherfucker. Sorry, you came out. You had a problem with the N on the horse. Let
me help you with that.
I told you that.
Who's that nigga on that now?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'm gonna say as your owner,
Snowball.
Right. Don't ask me questions.
Yeah,
How's that? Shut. His name is Shut the fuck up. Why are you asking me questions? Go in the house and do what I told you to do. Yeah, but nothing. Overseer, bring me a whip. This guy, what the fuck? That's saying the same shit over and over again. And all of a sudden, because he's got a story to tell, he figures out that these two ends know each other. He's figuring that out. And that took him 100 years to,
figure out.
And then all of a sudden, he's sitting with the brandy and the snifter, and he's talking like an English gentleman. Like, okay, pick a character. Pick one. What are you, an English gentleman, or
I feel
or
like
a hunchback?
I feel like that was familiarity with him and Tarantino.
The familiarity was fine, but he was a hunched over, pickaninny talking, guy, and then all of a sudden he's got something to say. It's like what you want to say is all of a sudden he's speaking like he went to a private, like he went to Oxford.
No, I mean there is a connotation or belief that the house nigga is more enlightened than the field nigga. So him having raised a generation of Monsieur Candies, right? He's not as dumb as he seems with what they're trying to give off. But I also felt, like I said, because of the rapport between him and Tarantino, you had to give Samuel that monologue where he just sits there and a la Pulp Fiction.
The monologue is fine, but just he went into a completely different character, and I know that Samuel can play anything.
Right.
He can play any kind of character. So if that's what we're going to establish, that he's the old house Negro who has a problem with things changing. Okay, fine, but then why the character later? And by the way, and now we got the gunfight.
Oh man!
How many times? Boy, the worst aim. These people have worse aim than the stormtroopers in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
How many times are you going to shoot into a body that's on the floor that's nowhere near the people that you're trying to shoot?
You gotta let
How many
off,
times?
You gotta
splattering blood everywhere.
You gotta let off those exploding packs. You gotta let
exploding
them go.
packs are just the
That's
same.
the signature Quentin Tarantino.
It's just and the same. Just shooting into that body. Understand something with blood and guts and exploding blood flying all over my screen. I'm yawning. I'm like, it was like watching a red fountain or the lava lamp just.
Yeah, and let me just by chance just drop a Tupac song in a period piece.
Yeah, that's another thing that I don't like. Like I saw, speaking of Leo Gatsby, I just saw Gatsby in the theater. That same director that did Moulin Rouge and everything, he explains why he puts modern songs in his period pieces.
I kind of like it, but go ahead.
I don't. It's because I want to suspend disbelief. You can you can accomplish the same thing by first of all, you could use modern instruments to play a traditional song of the time.
True.
Or you could play a traditional song, you can arrange it to sound poppy. He says, well, I want the people to feel like they're, the people in the movie are enjoying something that's current. So I want to use something that's current so that the people in the audience could say, no, because now you're creating an anachronism. You're having a period piece, and then all of a sudden an aircraft carrier is in the background.
Or a cell phone.
Yeah, or a cell phone. Somebody pulls out a cell phone. It's like.
But that didn't happen.
I know, but the
equivalent.
modern music. Well, see, here's the thing. It's different. Having a background score, having a Tupac song going on in the background during a gunfight, isn't as bad as people going to a party and they're playing Rihanna or
Jay-Z
music at the party and everybody's dancing to it.
I kind of think of it as
like Gatsby.
Like when I love period pieces. I love stories that take place in the past.
I got a couple for you.
But what I enjoy hearing modern music in those pieces, because then I kind of think like, if I was there at that party at that time, or if that time were right now, what would I be listening to?
That's that guy's rationale. But I feel like, look, give me some credit in the audience. I'm intelligent. I know that they're not playing Rihanna or Jay-Z in the 1920s. Give me a break.
Right.
Did you see the Gatsby?
I did. I read the book and then
likewise I read the book. I
like
the book.
I reread the book from high school.
And I've changed my position on Leo. I used to hate Leo. I thought he was a really horrible melodramatic in his earlier movies, and I don't know if you remember, he was just very melodramatic.
Which
just
one
a
in
very
particular?
extreme over the top Basketball Diaries.
Basketball Diaries.
Romeo and Juliet.
Uzi and Gilbert
I
Grape?
hated
yeah, he was.
Yeah, I hated I didn't see Romeo and Juliet because, again, I don't want to see that kind of shit. I liked the actual Romeo and Juliet movie and the book, but I didn't want to see that. It was just and I hated him then.
In that perspective, that's where I would like a modernization, because I saw Othello with Mekhi Phifer. Oh, that's what.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I seen that one.
I like that one. I like the Romeo and Juliet because I read the book in school also, but to have that modern twist to it, yeah, some of the things didn't match up.
Only thing with the modern, when they did did they speak in Shakespearean?
No, it was.
Yeah.
It was more of like adaptation, right?
That's
there.
what I didn't like about the Romeo and Juliet. Like they had all this, it's like, not really getting there. Like speak in
normal,
today
right.
or
modern times, right?
It just I didn't have it. It didn't like it.
Oh, you don't like it? Okay.
Never. We got dinner.
Yeah.
So that was my thing. Otherwise, I mean, I like the movie overall. I like the concept, but I wish that they hadn't killed Schultz all stupid. And really, that was it. I thought that he would die at some point. And then, by the way, the movie took a whole, like, everything that was happening was more or less sensible up until that time, and then a whole bunch of stupid shit started happening.
Like
in the movie. Like him jumping on the horse barefoot. Steal the man's boots, for Christ's sakes. Like he jumped on the horse all
towards the end.
Towards the end there. Oh, and then that's another thing. Let me see. I got a cage full of slaves that I'm delivering to a mine. They're going to a bad place. I do this for a living. This is the scene that Quentin Tarantino was in. Mm-hmm. I do this for a living. I take slaves or condemned people to the mines where they're going to be busting rocks all their life. I wonder if at any point somebody's going to say something and try to talk their way out of being delivered to the mine.
I think that's the part that was, as a moviegoer, like you said, we're in the audience and we want to be fed properly. Don't just throw me some slop and say, go ahead.
Yeah, believe this.
I'm looking and I'm watching the arc of the movie, because there's a scene where he's hanging upside down and the funny walking guy comes in there. And, this is not the end of Django. He's not going to get castrated. Samuel L. has another monologue. All right, we're not going to do this to you. We're going to do this to you. I'm like, what actually happened, a little bit of information for you guys that didn't know this, that the woman actually, that did the editing for most of Quentin Tarantino's movies passed away. So a lot of those, a lot of those scenes that kind of drug on and didn't flow properly, i.e. that ending sequence or whatever, it was probably because of her, because Quentin did most of that.
Well, I'm not going to blame her for
because of her not being there.
Here's something that I cannot believe anybody would fall for. So let's see. I got a cage on wheels full of slaves. They're going to a place they don't want to go. One of them opens up a mouth and says some shit. Blah 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 blah. Sounds good to me. I'm going to give him my gun. And he did. And then Django shoots him. Because that's what happened. I'm like, really?
Well, I think, all right, this is where I'm going to try to make.
I mean, I don't care what the guy says.
Listen.
Hey, I got a mountain made of gold. It's just right over there. All you got to do is shut up. No, you don't. Shut up.
I'm going to try to make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
All right.
This is what happened. Django has become so enlightened by being around Schultz, and you can talk a little bit. You can talk your way out of something. You can manipulate a little bit. So he didn't have the brightest of groups taking him to this mine. He pulled the wanted poster, which I couldn't really get. Did you guys get that?
Oh, that was the same thing
I got
that
it.
Schultz put out.
Yeah, the wanted poster. So the guy grabbed a piece of paper, stuck it in his pocket. I'm not good.
It's about manipulation, so I saw nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so the manipulation part, I didn't see anything wrong with it, but I understood what he was trying to do. Okay, all right, he gets to manipulate him, and now he gets to go back. And that's really the feel that I got watching the movie. I was like,
I got the same feel there.
Yeah, okay, I get it. I know what he's going to do. And in that sense, I was kind of, disappointed. Like, okay, you couldn't take me to that next level. You just took me where I figured you could go because you probably ran out of material.
Okay. Listen. If I like, let's say that my job is transporting slaves to the rock busting mine. I don't care what you sing, how you dance, what kind of promises you make, or what kind of paperwork you have in your pocket. I'm not letting you out of the cage, and I'm not going to give you my gun. I mean, especially, and they really tried to establish this point in a day where the white people didn't think very much of black people.
Right.
Especially the white people who were in the business of transporting black people from one place to another, like actual slavers. Mm-hmm. And by the way, something, because they brought out, and here's the thing about the movie that that I think was not a bad idea, is they did along the line illustrate just exactly how bad
the conditions were,
what the conditions were, and how bad some of these white people were to the slaves.
Right.
And I think about that, and I was watching that, and the movie did get me thinking. After I wrote down all the shit that I hated, it did really get me thinking about what it must have been like to live in that day and age. And I gotta say, you know what? Not all of us would have been dicks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't care what the norm would have been. A sad face is a sad face. When you're doing something to someone and hurting them and they make a sad face, you know, we're allowed to do things to like animals and straight. It's like just because you're allowed to, not everybody did. And I think that the people that did have absolutely no excuse and nothing to hide behind.
Right.
That it was appropriate in the time, fuck you. You know what? You knew it was wrong. That's a human being walking around on two legs that can speak your language. You know it's wrong. You just wanted somebody to do your work for you, you lazy asshole. And by the way, you got a little penis and you want to beat up on someone. That's it. You wanted to beat that man and rape that woman, and you were a dick. And everybody that was associated with that, you know, and Paula Deen, you know, because, you know, she had that paperwork from her ancestors. They had like 36 slaves or something like that. You're a douchebag, and your family member, you're from a douchebag family, and not everybody who had the ability to be mean to somebody chose that option. And if you did choose that option, you're a piece of shit. And I'm sorry.
It was definitely eye-opening. You know, the Mandingo fighting. I've heard these stories before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Mandingo fighting, situations where you'd have slaves, forced slaves, to have intercourse with their mothers in Mandingo fighting form. Like, we'll just sit there, you know, we're sipping whatever, and we're just watching this happen because we don't view this as human beings. They're whatever they're
inferior.
Yeah, let's have them do this in front of us for entertainment. And that was the weird part, you know, that this was actually something that happened. But
yeah, it's just because really it almost speaks to like how history, it was more of like these people were just, you know, put me up, like how much like
ignore that man.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, yeah. Sorry. All right. It's speaking like how in history it's just, you know, when you're looked at as property, you're not looked at as a human being, and it's terrible. So
listen. So I've owned dogs in my life. They were my property.
But think about dog fighting.
Yeah, but I didn't. I didn't set my dogs up to fight. You know why? Because I'm not a douchebag, Michael Vick. Yeah. I'm not an asshole. I don't care. I don't care what. Oh, the Buddha beat, but the cultural in the background. I don't give a fuck. All right, wrong is wrong, and it doesn't matter if everybody around you is doing something wrong. You know. The dogs aren't enjoying it. Pain is obvious. A creature, a human being in pain, the pain is obvious. And if you have the ability to ignore that pain in the name of your entertainment,
or get off on it,
then you're an asshole. Yeah. All right, it's as simple as that. I'm tired of people making excuses for assholes, and you know, and as far as history goes, you know, it's history, and there's nothing that you can do about it except to look at it and learn from it. But there is absolutely no excuse. And my ancestors, you know, earned the name conquistador. They went to places, killed the people, stole their land.
Spaniard.
And noble tradition, you know.
Sparta.
Randy speaks Spanish because of that. But they were dicks. Let's face it, they were dicks for doing so. And it takes an asshole to do something like that, to have the kind of mentality where you can rationalize something like that. Of course, having the Bible helps you rationalize it.
Yeah.
That's for another show there, Larrnell.
Definitely.
Larrnell, hang you on the cross.
Oh, crap.
Ever heard that before? We'll get to that. So, speaking of Larrnell, what are you hoping to be when you grow up?
Well, like since I'm already an adult,
try to keep up with the comedy over here.
Okay, sure, yeah. Okay.
Come on.
All right. You know, basically like do stuff in radio, like be able to produce, just, you know, that along those lines, you know, yeah. Anybody else?
Produce? No, I'm talking to you.
We're talking to you.
Yeah.
Your show, what is it?
Inoculative expression.
Inoculative expression.
Inoculative expression.
Inoculative.
Yes.
I've been saying it wrong this whole time.
Yes. I'm also known as Verse Train on the show. I didn't mention that on the
Say again?
Soul Train?
Verse Train on the show.
Verse Train.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm reverse train. I go backwards.
Oh, yes. Like the moonwalk. Yeah, I get you.
I can moonwalk on roller skates.
How long have you had that show?
Just like with the last show, I've been having it for like some years. Like, it used to be called like inoculation back in 2005 or something like that. Then switched over to inoculate to radio, and then inoculative expressions came in like late last year. So I've just been doing it ever since.
And so, what's your favorite thing about having that platform?
Go, Randy.
I get a chance to like play different styles of music and be able to talk to different artists. And plus, there's a new show coming out next Saturday. Make sure you check it out. 2:00.
Plug.
Yes. Hey.
When is that?
It's 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you live in the West Coast, remember it's 11 a.m.
And what will he be dealing with in particular?
Who will he be interviewing?
Well, I'll be interviewing Liza Sahido as well as Lawrence Moore of the Kindle Sound Art. So, concert series, which is more about like electroacoustic music. So, that will be one of my guests for next Saturday. So,
nice.
Please listen.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. Well, I do. And if you don't, you have it available for download somewhere?
Yes, on mixcloud.com/inoculative expressions.
Okay, well, we'll have to set you up with some SoFlo Radio presence then. Get some imaging and everything for you, and get your official SoFlo Radio underwear. Because you don't know.
Yes, can it be actually blue or something like that? Some blue underwear.
Sure, yeah.
They're booty shorts.
Oh. You fond of the blue undies? Are you?
Yeah. Well, actually, I seen Randy's underwear actually, like before we started the show.
What?
Did you? What color are they?
Yeah.
I didn't see her underwear.
I was not aware of that.
I just saw butt.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Which is good. Well, it's okay.
Thanks, gentlemen.
I have novelty underwear too. We don't have any
They're
SoFlo
called
underwear.
unmentionables for a reason, because you're not supposed
never
to
called
mention
them.
them.
Thank you so much, Randy. Thank you so much,
Pigs.
Jack.
I see Kim didn't rub off on any of you guys.
I want to see the actual clock, though, so I know how much time we have. We got Flock of Seagulls coming out of here. We got the She'sOnlyRockandRoll.com She Play coming up next, and then all kinds of things. Just check the schedule, SoFloRadio.com. Thank you, Larrnell. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Jack. And thank you, Quentin Tarantino, for making such a bad movie so we could have a lot of things to talk about. Peace.